does that sound like?
No, I knew it was loud. Hi, everybody. We got Ben Singer in the chat room for the first time ever.
Oh, hey, Ben. Ben and AJ are good friends.
Oh, that's why he's there.
I don't know why.
Strong,
yeah, that's why Ben's
word.
here, because AJ's here. I know. I'm being very liberal with the word friend.
There's
or good.
Steffi right at 4:30. My goodness, she's
Nailed it.
amazing.
Hello.
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 Yeah,
Can you hear
I
us?
was pretty sure it would be right at 4:30. I can hear you. Why do
Okay.
I have? Oh, sorry. It's a little
Well,
lip.
that looks like a personal problem that men suffer.
Fixed it.
I mean, some.
Some.
not all.
Yeah. Not that you wouldn't know anything.
I don't. I mean, I've heard people have told me, and I don't really.
Fortunately,
I mean,
she's a
maybe
doctor, so she can write her own prescription versus having to go
maybe
out.
I suffer from that. I don't know. It's been a while since I've used
Oh no.
that apparatus.
No.
Need to get
Well,
that
not my area of expertise. Mostly,
Yeah.
So
You're not a sex therapist.
No. Sorry.
Okay.
My neighbors are though.
Oh, what the? Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Must have some good parties on that block.
They do. I have not been to one.
Oh, I need to go to one. Hey, could you help out my friend Jeff?
These parties like
he needs some
Biddy
help.
had?
I feel like they're industry parties though. So
Oh, the sex industry parties.
they're
Oh,
therapy.
nice.
You could
industry
fake it, Jeff.
parties.
Well, I'd take one for the team if I had to.
I think you- Take one what?
One of any. Well, no, that's not
Not-
true.
no,
Not
that's
one
no.
of anything. No. Yeah, no, I'm not
Come
sure
on,
exactly what I
hello,
mean.
Neil.
Time for me to shut up.
And
And go. Yeah, so
Jeff.
let's see. We have, okay. So thanks, AJ, for inviting the, let's say, the midlife pilot guys. And
half midlife
they,
and half OB.
half OB.
They split their time.
Okay. Is there anybody out there that is just a airline pilot guy? Kind of. Oh, I think we have some people like that there.
there's Ed Cove.
We have Ed Kof. Hey, how you doing? Second time logging on.
Hi,
Glad to see you, man.
Hall boxes.
And I
Hi,
think
Hall.
we're nailing your name now,
Hi,
Ed Kof.
Yeah.
Hi, Hall. Hey, there we go. There's a familiar face. And, of course, Neil Landwarn.
The mayor of APG, Mike Kuipers.
Oh, where? I didn't see him. What
Right
is
up
he?
the
Did he
top.
come in earlier?
And
He's
Paul
probably the
Verhagen.
first one there.
Paul Verhagen.
Oh. Oh, hey, Paul.
Haven't
Paul
seen Paul for a
Verhagen.
while.
Oh, I see Michael Kuipers. Hey, Mike. And Eric from Norway. And Peter's up in upstate New York, Syracuse area.
Eric's up late over there in Norway. We're back to our
Yeah.
later hours. We're not on the European-friendly hours.
And Neil, what you were tuning into was APG After Dark.
Yes.
Except it's definitely not after dark here in the United States. Eastern
No.
Well,
time
Stephanie's
zone.
kind of in the dark, though.
No, I'm very
Yeah,
much
yeah.
in the light, which is the
I
problem.
know. I know.
I know. It's too much light, but you know what? I like my natural daylight. I just need to turn this
There's
around so
Mike
the
Price.
windows.
Hi, Mike
on
from
the other
Lake
side.
Norman.
That'd be.
Mike was
better.
at
It used
our,
to be like that, but I actually like this setup better for the room.
There's Mike Price, Jeff, that was at our meetup in Charlotte from Lake Norman.
Oh, hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Welcome. Lake Norman
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah.
Cool.
We know Mike.
Mike.
Good to see you.
Excellent.
Mike-
He's yelling at us for some reason. Though.
Mike is a fan.
It's fine. He's allowed. He's
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike and
We'll
his
give him
wife had schnauzers, so there's my puppy. Mike.
Ah, that's right. Hey, that's a good-looking schnauzer you got
I
there,
know.
Liz.
I knew he was waiting for that. I think I used to know a joke where the schnauzer was the punchline.
For those of you who don't know, the gentleman right below me, is AJ Schramm, and he is that professional Porsche experience driver. Is that the way you would say what you do with Porsche?
A Porsche driving coach and new vehicle delivery specialist.
Whoa.
Now, what I said was a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should write that down, Jeff.
No. No. I
I
already
can
have.
post it to you if you need help with
I
the
have
site.
way too much stuff already that I have to say about AJ, and that was the edited version.
No.
there was like twice as much before. And I said, could we like trim that a little bit?
Good
Because
to
everybody's
see
going
you
to start
too,
getting
Mike
jealous.
Price. Jeff, do you want to test Roger's intro for sound quality?
Yeah, I do. I do want to do that. Who's putting that up?
I didn't put that up.
636.
Oh, that's
I've just
636.
found 636.
That's Nick doing that. 636.
Man, I'm so bummed.
That's
I
what-
missed 633.
It's a rogue
That's one of my
slide.
favorite movies. You guys talked about it without me.
I'm sorry. Well, we should have just waited until you were available.
That's true. You might still be.
Hey,
it'll be
opposing
appropriate 'cause you
faces
might be
are in
looking
our
like
chat room.
skeletons.
Oh.
Heads up.
Oh, no.
Should we let them know that they missed the after hours or the after show already? Sorry, you missed the good stuff.
Shall we recreate that? No, let's don't.
Let's not.
Let's not.
So they got the popcorn
got
going.
popcorn
Now,
ready,
is that
yeah.
RH or is that AG or both of
I
you
don't
sitting
think
next to
it's-
each other eating
it's-
popcorn?
One, the other, both, neither.
Sitting on one of your lap. Is one of them sitting on each other's lap?
That's what I'm picturing. Yeah, sadly. What were we going to do? Oh,
You're
we're going
gonna
to
do
test
Roger.
Radio Roger.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view
R8.
from our side of the cockpit door.
Ah,
WAPG. It's the
let's see how Roger sounds here.
Guy. Airline Pilot Guy episode 636.
I just had to make sure that was the correct
Sounds good.
intro.
Hi, Hallbox. If you could read your comment two ways. Welcome to the aviation's #1 podcast. You're either welcoming them or you're welcoming them to our number one. I don't know.
That's very true, Liz.
Kind of ambiguous, yeah. Hey, Jeff,
Yeah.
my
Yes.
computer no longer recognizes the password you sent me for Evernote a while back, and I just tried
Yeah.
retyping it, and it doesn't seem to work. Is there a new one,
Okay.
or am I just like fat fingering?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't do
You
a.
didn't
I
change it?
didn't do a new one.
It might just be me not being able to type. Let me.
You're actually typing it in. I would cut and paste it.
It doesn't work well from my. I guess I could do it from my phone to my computer, but it doesn't.
Oh, iHallbox, it says he's welcoming them to
Is
our
number
pod-
one. We all know that. Oh, how nice. They're just being. He's just being nice.
He's
he knows.
lulling us into a false sense of niceness.
I think that they are the #1 Air Talk podcast out there.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
I abstain from this vote.
Oh, every
If it has to be
45
fed
minutes.
every 40
That's.
Oh.
Well, how do we tell when he gets grumpy? I think it's like that all the time.
I think we
know.
just have to start a timer now. That way we can avoid it.
Mizzou's Kareem. Good evening, sir.
Hey, Mazoots. How are you?
How the
Okay, so
hell-
far everything has been okay with my signal?
Yeah, it's all good. You
Good.
look
Well,
good.
hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, you could do your hair a bit, but other than that, you're fine.
I was talking about my audio signal, sir. And what is it? What am I supposed to do with my hair?
Nick is just poking at you.
What did you tell me? It's an audio podcast.
Exactly.
It's an audio podcast, exactly.
Yeah.
We just use this as a.
pitch up
And
with
even
a beard
then-
like AJ's.
And even
It
then,
better
it's
be
a
an
bit of a
audio
stretch that
podcast.
it's an audio podcast sometimes.
It is a stretch for sure. Let me. So I have a couple of podcasting related things I want to talk about and getting to know us.
Okay.
If you'll remind me, Liz, because I didn't write it down.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay. Okay.
Are we
So
almost there?
how are the levels doing? The sound levels for everybody? Nobody's really complained. So I guess
Oh, you
we're
Is Micah
sound good
in
for
the
a
chat?
change, Jeff. Just your hair.
Thank you.
That's the only problem.
God. What is it? What's up with Nick today?
He just
God.
knows. He knows you're
Okay,
very.
it's going to get worse. I was up early this morning, and it's been a long old day.
He's like punch drunk.
We love
Yes.
his
Lack of
background, Peter. We were just
And I haven't
commenting.
even started
Oh.
drinking yet.
Oh no.
So Ryan is saying my audio is the only one that sounds like it occasionally clips. Okay, that's probably because of my.
No, it's because opposing bases has such lousy audio equipment. He can't tell the difference.
I don't. So he's talking about me specifically, my signal. I think it's because of the bandwidth that I don't have the same amount of copious amounts of bandwidth that everybody else here is using. I have
He's
just a hotspot that I'm
bandwidth
using.
starved.
Yep.
Deficient.
Yes, deficient.
I'm bandwidth deficient.
Well,
But it's better, I think. Of course, I don't know. Last time, I'm hoping it'll be better than last time. I was using Starlink in the campground last week,
yeah,
my own Starlink. But
it was okay.
I think
we had a
this
couple
is,
of little glitches, but it was okay.
yeah. So, but the good thing is that we're recording locally, and I'll use all those files to put it all
Really,
together for the
Neil? He sounds very loud to me, like just good loud. Neil's saying
bit
here.
low.
No,
lo-fi.
Oh,
Low,
fidelity.
Fidelity.
Yeah. Oh, I don't see if there's anything in my audio chain that would be causing lo-fi.
You sound pretty good in England, old chap.
Yeah, I sound good in Canada too.
Okay.
Sounds fun.
I don't know.
He's just getting at you, Jeff.
Well, I mean, that was Neil Landwarn. He's usually
A nice person.
Oh,
pro Jeff.
Neil's usually quite nice.
Mike Price says it sounds great in Lake Norman. So
Yeah, it
Thank you, Mike.
sounds good here in the Charlotte area, so we're going to go with the 2 votes
Okay.
from
right, so
the only
2
place that
votes
really
from
matters.
Charlotte sounds good. Okay.
so let's get on with this.
Third vote from Charlotte. There we go. Or maybe he's not in Charlotte. He should be in Charlotte.
All right.
Oh, yeah, there's
Charlotte's
that?
starting to sound like the
It's Brad.
Eurovision Song Contest.
Charlotte, Sultan of Wings.
It's a bit pitchy.
Yeah. Brad is also in Charlotte. Okay, my recorder is Tim Van Ram is obviously not here, reminding us
Greek
to
Islands.
start our recorders. Or my recorder. So I got that going, and I have that going. So I have 2 recorders going, and then StreamYard is recording as well. And now, before Liz can ask me, I'm going to say yes, I do have the countdown.
Very good.
And if I could just get my mouse to work, I'll select this intro note. And
Yeah.
okay. Are we all ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Airline Pilot Guy episode 636. Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from the APG Road Vessel Studio. Today's show is recorded on the week of October 21st, 2024. Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Put your light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy. In today's episode, an airliner engine sucks in a cargo container, and a Sri Lankan captain lots his first officer out of the cockpit. Also ahead, more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. Our Radio Roger in Flight 636 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City!
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me today from her lakeside studio in South. She's a doctor, skydiver, marathon runner, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument rated backstabbing jumper dumper, Dr. Steph.
Hey, Captain Jeff. Good to see you again. Just want to make note that this, for anyone who's keeping count on attendance, this is 2 weeks in a row. So this has
Mark her
been-
down for 2 in a row.
Yep.
Present.
Got it.
Looking forward to another great show.
All right. Well, we are as well. And also from his home studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
ex-professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff, and hello, everybody. We've got a right crowd on today. And this is show 636, so there's a helicopter with 636 on its tail, and it's actually a NATO reporting name, HIP. So when we did aircraft recce, if you saw a thing that looked like a bus, you'd say, oh, hip, hip, hooray, here comes the bus. And that's how we remembered it was a hip.
Seriously?
Okay.
Yeah, seriously.
I love it. All right. Thanks, Nick.
Okay.
My pleasure.
And from his home studio in the Air Capital, low and slow pilot, AMP mechanic, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey, Captain Jeff. I also am glad to show up for Tuesday. It's a little touch and go there for a minute. Still feels a little touch and go, but there I am.
All right, staff, mark him down for 2 in a row as well.
All right. Got it.
You got it? All right. And also joining us for the first time from his home studio in the North Georgia forests, race car driver, high-performance, high-altitude, tail-dragging, and complex-endorsed instrument-rated pilot with an affinity for self-taught haute cuisine and everything with enough horsepower to kill him. AJ Schramm.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me on. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, and we're going to learn more about AJ in the Getting to Know Us segment. So looking forward to that. Great to have you with us. And
Hi,
also,
AJ. Nice to see you again.
from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer. It's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. I have intro envy for AJ's intro. That was very exciting.
You like that? Let's play it again.
Yeah.
You want that now for your intro music?
Well, yeah, I like that, but it's all the stuff he had in his intro. Was
Oh yeah, no kidding. And he's a very good writer.
Yeah.
I don't think any of it's actually true, but we'll learn more in the Getting to Know Us segment,
Jeff,
and
just
we'll
before
sort it all
I leave
out.
you, I almost feel like
Yeah.
you've got your gain turned up too high or something.
Too high. Okay.
It's sounding a little.
So maybe that's the crunchiness that everybody is talking about.
That
Okay,
sounds a
let me-
bit better.
I'm
now.
liking it for a change because I can hear you. But then
All
again,
right.
I'm a
Well,
bit deaf.
Go ahead. I just thought it was a little high. But
Well, no. I'm going to turn it down a couple dB. I'm afraid to actually turn down the actual gain.
leave it.
Why am I not able to adjust that?
While we're doing this, did you remember to send AJ the bill for your dry cleaning after you did that trip with him in the Porsche, Jeff? Because
I didn't have any issues at all. I had complete trust in this man, and it was like just an afternoon drive in the park to me. I thought
It was just that. Yeah.
he's almost too smooth. I mean, he didn't scare us at all. Well, I don't know about you, but he didn't scare me,
I
and
get
I'm
lucky every
glad.
once in a while.
I don't want to be scared.
Have a good show,
Anyway.
you guys.
Well, thanks, Liz.
Cheers.
Bye, Liz.
And so we should probably do some aviation news since we're an aviation podcast. So let's hit the news sounder.
Stand by for news.
All right, let's start with this first item in our news folder. It involves a couple of videos that'll help explain a little bit or what happened here. An American Airlines Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner engine accidentally ingests cargo container in Chicago. Well, accidentally? Who? The bulkhead seat. What is that? Is that a travel blog or something? Why would an engine purposely ingest?
Because it was
a
past
cargo
45 minutes and it got hungry.
Okay. Now we're kind of conflating engines and our guest host, AJ.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Well, so maybe this will help sort things out. Let me play this video from VAS Aviation. Real Aviation Communications. And they use liveatc.net for the audio. All right. There's an American Airlines 787 Dreamliner 834 Alpha Alpha performing Flight 47 from London to Chicago O'Hare, taxiing to the gate. They were behind an Air France A350 ahead of them, and then one of the access roads, there was a tug with some cargo ULDs, is that what we call them? And one of them got blown by the exhaust of the Air France A350
American 47.
into the right engine of their jet.
American 47.
American 47, go ahead.
Yeah, this tug that just drove in front of us on the road lost all its containers. We think we took one in the right engine.
American 47, okay. Thank you. We're going to get somebody out there. Okay, thank you.
Not great.
That location is on Bravo between Alpha
live
16
ATC
and Alpha 15.
audio here today.
Morse code for a second.
Yeah.
An airplane behind American 47. It is the right engine okay right now. You don't see any fire and smoke out of it.
It's an Air Wisconsin behind the American.
All right. We just
little white smoke
shut
is
it down after we took it. So advise us if it gets worse. I will.
And that was the number 1 engine, correct?
Negative. That's the right engine, the number 2 engine.
Roger, thank you.
That's Chicago ground, American 47, Pan. We'd like the emergency vehicles out to inspect the right engine.
Okay, we'll get emergency vehicles out there, American 47. Wisconsin 6080. If you see anything else out of that engine, just let us know.
Yeah, we got it.
Thank you. All right, everybody hold your position. Everyone hold your position. Brickyard 3694, hold your position. Volunteer 3053, hold your position. American 3136, you're going to be holding your position here for a while.
Oh, for a while? 3053.
Rescue.
The location
Great
is
radio.
Bravo between Alpha 16 and Alpha 15. It's the American Heavy. It's American 47 Heavy. It's the right engine.
That's correct.
An American 47, if you need to use the frequency to talk to the rescue vehicles, go ahead.
Thank you.
And the rescue vehicles on frequency, American 47 Heavy is monitoring the frequency, and they will talk to you on this frequency if need be. American 47 Heavy, the rescue vehicles are trying to reach you on the frequency if you're monitoring it. And rescue vehicles, it is the right engine. It ingested spod, and there was some white smoke observed. American 47 Heavy, how do you hear?
I hear you loud and clear. I'm not hearing any of them, though. Are they on a discrete frequency?
The rescue vehicles on frequency, change to 121.9er.
Yeah, so we were sitting here parked, and traffic went in front of us. Baggage carts, our containers got blown up, and one went into our right engine. And we heard it get sucked up, so we shut the motor down. Somebody said it was smoking. We just want to make sure everything else is okay. Okay, yeah, we see some debris there. No smoke fire. Okay, thank you.
And if American 47 Heavy, change to 119.25, 1925.
11925, American 47.
And all rescue vehicles change to 119.25.
All right. The aircraft sat there for 45 minutes being inspected. Then they taxied to the gate. Slight little pause here. Steph, that's the show notes link
Yeah, I got it.
for everyone, and it's kind of all in one kind of thing, and it has most everything in there, not everything, because there were a couple things added this morning that I didn't get into this.
Okay, no worries. That will work. I'm not sure why it doesn't
Yeah, I don't
log
know.
on. It's weird. I've double checked, retyped. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the second video here in a moment, just because we'd like to get stuff straightened out.
I'm up
here.
with the
You good?
link that you sent me.
Okay. The two that aren't in there is a news item about the FAA and A&Ps.
Okay.
That Camacho.
Oh, right.
sent
I have
in.
the link to that in my text as well. I can get that, I think. Or I
Okay.
have it. Ooh, actually, maybe not. Audit.
Okay,
piece.
there's an
Okay,
FAA
I'll try to
audit
find
as
it. If
well.
not, I'll
Okay.
just go off of what you guys queue.
Okay.
Make it up.
All right, so that was the VAS Aviation video, and we have some, ORD, Chicago O'Hare spotter video that is kind of like closed circuit TV video. There's no captioning at all, but I can give you the captioning. I'll describe it to you. So let me add that to the stage. And now we see, oh wait, I have to like pause this for a moment. I'm a little disappointed in the VAS Aviation video. I'm sorry. Because they had the tug going from left to right, and this is actually going right to left. So, yeah. Okay, here we go. So, okay, I'm trying to get it to start. There we go. And there it goes off. It's being blown into the engine, and you can tell when it finally got into the the vacuum of the
Whose
engine.
dirty underwear is that coming out of the suitcases?
Well, actually, they say that the ULD was empty. May have been why it got sucked in so easily. Although I have a feeling it probably still would have been sucked in. But watch this, and boom! Wow. I'm sure that didn't cause any damage at all to that engine.
To the engine or to the ULD?
To the engine.
Okay.
I'm being sarcastic. I think
know.
everything got destroyed.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a picture that Liz is showing of the intake of that engine, and yeah, that doesn't look inexpensive at all. Oh, hey, thank you for making me big, Liz. That's worth.
Thought the after dark part was over.
Yeah, well, not.
No, it's
Not
just
yet, not
sprinkled
quite.
in here and there. It's
Yes.
A week sprinkling in the after dark? Great.
Yes. Oh no.
oh boy.
Well, no, you're not allowed to do that though.
Different.
Then I'd have to put the explicit tag on the podcast for Apple Podcasts. So.
Oh, I thought you put that on there because I was on here.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, we're waiting to see if that's something that we're going to have to do, but hopefully not. Anyway, that's one of the hazards of having ground vehicles mixed up with the air vehicles, while the air vehicles are taxiing around on the ground. And it looks like this guy driving the tug with the ULDs just got a little impatient and didn't really think this thing through, that would be a safe thing to do behind that A350. And it could have been that they passed behind the A350 right at that time that the A350 was spooling up to move that heavy jet, and that was just enough to cause the problem. I don't know really what else.
A case of objects in the distance are closer than they appear.
Yeah,
So give
especially if
yourself
you
a
just
little
wait
more room.
around
Yep.
a little bit. Yeah. So there you go. That was just kind of fun. We had that in the news because it was kind of fun to see the video of the thing getting sucked into the engine.
I'm sure they're not excited
Yeah, we
about
like that. That's
engine
that's
damage.
what we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But fortunately, I think the aircraft they were taxiing to a gate, so it wasn't like they were waiting to take off to go someplace.
That's true.
Far away, so. Hopefully.
Now, Liz asked a question on the back channel regarding his declaration, the pan declaration on the ground. She was saying a pan on the ground, and I don't know if there's any limitation as far as a Mayday call or a pan, whether you're airborne or on the ground. Is there, Captain Nick? You'd be our expert in the ICAO declarations of emergency and urgency.
No, you can say it anytime. I mean, if you're taxiing out and you've got a passenger who's dying of a heart attack, you can say Mayday. and you can get, toot sweet back to the terminal and get some paramedics. And it's just a case of, whenever you're operating the airplane, that's appropriate to use a word like that.
Okay. Is toot sweet like Tootsie Roll, or exactly what would that be? The American equivalent? No, I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness, look at this. In our live audience, and folks, we talk about this all the time. You should, when you have a chance sometime, join us when we're recording the show live. And apparently, we are not interesting enough or entertaining enough during our normal show to have the two hosts of the Opposing Bases Air Talk podcast, the number one aviation podcast in the universe, I think they claim. And they're both here, and it's because of this guest host right below me, if you're watching the video, AJ Schramm.
I think it's just Galaxy, not Universe.
Oh, just a Galaxy.
Just a Galaxy.
Okay. Well, that's a little bit smaller than the entire universe. Anyway, good to see you guys here with us in the live audience. And I think we should keep moving on then with some more news. And this one is going to generate a little bit of conversation, I have a feeling. So let's add this to...
Delta
okay, I guess...
564.
Okay. It involves Delta 564 that has just taken off from San Francisco International, SFO. And this is from, what's the name of this video? Liz, do you recall? What channel? AVO Flight? Is that what? I see that in the upper right-hand corner. AVO Flight. And they're using liveatc.net audio, as all the folks out there use. And anyway, I'm not sure exactly what time
Jeff,
it is.
Avocado Flight.
Oh, Avocado Flight. Okay, very good.
Yep.
Well, I think you're right, Nick, because there is a pilot that is flying an avocado in the...
yeah, there you go.
You see it right there, right next to the Delta 564?
Not at all weird, but there you go.
So it is. It must really be Avocado Flight. Okay. Anyway, I'm not sure exactly what time it is. I gather, as we may all gather once we listen to a little bit more of this, that it's kind of on the late side or maybe in the wee hours of the morning at this point. They're going from San Francisco to John F. Kennedy in New York, about a 5-hour flight, a red eye, we're thinking, Liz is saying. So they start off by talking to departure control, and right off the bat, he says something that I'm thinking, what? I'll play this and you can see what I'm talking about.
Flight level 1500.
Flight level 1500. That's pretty high.
That's
very high.
Really, really high.
That's like 150,000 feet.
That's like Galaxy level high.
I know. That would be higher, I think, than maybe even those missiles over Iraq. I'm not sure.
You could see opposing bases from up there, though.
Yeah. Oh, you could see a much better view of the galaxy. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy may already kind of, like a little hint that maybe he is a little tired. Instead of saying at 1,500 feet, he says flight level 1,500. But anyway, here we go. We're going to continue.
Looks like we're going to message. We're going to have to stop at 2,000 or 3,000 to work it out.
Delta 564, not got a pressure right at contact. Maintain 3,000.
Maintain 3,000, Delta 564.
Delta 564, for now, I'll just leave you on the departure at 3,000. If you need something else, let me know.
All right, sounds good, Delta 564. Delta 564, can we get radar vectors?
564, maintain 3,000, fly heading 320.
3,000, 320, Delta 564.
Delta 564, turn right heading 020.
Right 020, Delta 564.
Delta 564, heads up. We have here.
The 564, Roger, can you take a climb to 5,000?
So they're having a problem. They may have to return.
Delta 564, thank you. I'm going to maintain 5,000. 564, thank you. Just keep me advised of your intentions.
Atlanta radio, Delta 564.
Okay, so I'm going to pause. So at this point, The captain, and I'm assuming it's the captain, the male voice, the female voice, I'm assuming is the first officer on this particular flight, is making a call to Atlanta radio, which is kind of a semi-private channel or a frequency to talk to contact Delta headquarters operations to discuss issues. And if you want to talk to your dispatcher or you want to talk to a Delta actually has dedicated meteorologists that you can ask to talk to. Just a whole bunch of different things that you can do going through Atlanta radio. So Atlanta radio is kind of your initial call, and then you ask who you want to talk to, and then they basically do a phone patch for you. So this is on the secondary communications radio. The first officer is now, I'm assuming, flying the airplane and also talking to air traffic control at 5,000 feet as they're getting vectored around by NorCal departure.
Go ahead, Delta 564 for Atlanta.
How's it going? Delta 564 just took off of San Francisco. We had autopilot disconnect, auto throttle disconnect, and TAT probe message on our ICAS. We're not having any guidance right now.
Delta 564, do you want to speak to maintenance?
Yeah, I want to speak to maintenance, and it's getting pretty late. After this issue, we were very delayed. We're probably going to want to get back to San Francisco and not continue the 5-hour flight to JFK.
Delta 564, please stand by. Dispatch is getting maintenance.
Thank you.
Delta 564, this is maintenance control.
Hey. Delta 564, this is just... We took off and we got our autopilot disconnected, auto throttle disconnect, TAT probe on the ICAS message.
Okay, on takeoff we had the autopilot disconnect and the
autopilot wasn't actually engaged. We just had the autopilot disconnect message come up and we lost guidance. And we had, right now we do have the autopilot working. Now it just says auto throttle disconnect, TAT probe on the ICAS.
Okay, so your auto throttles are and you have a TAT probe on ICAS.
Correct.
Okay, standby one. Let me look up a reset for us, and I'm going to look up history as well. Standby.
Thank you.
564, I'm going to have you reset about 4 circuit breakers. Let me know when you're ready to copy.
Ready to copy, Delta 564.
Okay, these are going to be on your overhead. Fox 14, 15, and 16. Also, Alpha 17. Just ensure that your auto throttle or autopilot is disengaged before you pull these breakers.
Okay, we'll disengage autopilot and pull Fox 14, 15, 16, and Alpha 17.
That's affirmative. We'll leave them out for 15 seconds.
Okay, stand by. I'm sorry, did you say pull them for 15 seconds or 15 minutes?
Seconds. 15 seconds.
Maintenance, Delta 564.
Go for maintenance.
The TAT probe message is still remaining on the ICAS.
And is this, which TAT probe? Before, I have one more circuit breaker we can try, and that's going to be behind the co-pilot on the circuit breaker panel, Lima 24.
Okay, so now Lima 24 and same 15 seconds.
Yes, behind the co-pilot.
Okay, we'll try that.
And Delta 654, if you have not yet, I'm looking at your QRH 3.12 as well.
Yeah, we read 3.12, and I just pulled Lima 24, and the message TAT probe and light on the overhead panel still remains.
Okay, you pull the circuit breaker and reset, and the light still remains.
Correct.
Okay, Yeah, according to your QRH, I'm looking at the auto throttles will be in off, and there's nothing else that is restricting you from proceeding as far as maintenance is concerned.
Okay, can stand by 1. You still there for Delta 564?
Delta 564, yes, this dispatch and I are looking at the QRH and stand by 1.
Okay. So, to continue a 5-hour flight across the United States without autothrottle might be highly fatiguing.
Yeah, Captain, this is dispatch. There isn't any icing conditions on your approach. There is some around like Syracuse area, Detroit, and western Pennsylvania, but I don't see any on your approach.
Okay.
Delta 564, turn right heading to 40.
240, Delta 564.
Delta 564, fly heading 280.
280, Delta 564.
And Delta 564, this is dispatch. I'm going to just talk to her real quick just to confirm that he sees the same as I see it regarding icing.
Yeah, it just says flight and icing conditions can result in erroneous information. And what about that, the EPR bug reference to the EPR and op?
Delta 564, with reference with that EPR indication, that's just a byproduct of that TAT probe being inoperative.
Okay. Dispatch Delta 564?
Delta 564, this is dispatch.
How's it going? What, is there something that we're waiting for?
I just spoke with me, and they agree with me. There's low-level icing up to 210. That's around western New York and western Pennsylvania area, but during your approach, it wouldn't be any icing.
Okay, thank you for that. Also, we are right at our peak of circadian low, and I spoke with the first officer, and we don't believe it's in what safety to continue flying throughout the night at this time with no auto throttle.
Okay, if you want to return because of fatigue, I can call the duty pilot to get him on the line.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Copy that. Stand by for just a second.
564, turn right heading 030.
030, Delta 564.
Yeah, so I can't get the duty pilot on the line. He's on another call right now, but if you want to return on your own authority, you can, and then we'll just get the duty pilot on the line once you get to the ground.
All right, yeah, I think that's going to be the safest bet for this evening, with especially with everything that happened already.
All right, roger that. And maintenance is on the line as well. What's your FOV? I'm sure you're going to land overweight.
43.2. Our gross weight is showing 215.
Roger that, 43.2. And I will call San Francisco and let them know that you will be returning.
All right, thank you. And we cleared to land overweight at 16,000 pounds overweight.
And Delta 564, I just ran your numbers, and yeah, you only have 10 minutes to hold fuel in Albany if you did continue to JFK. And is there anything else you need from dispatch?
I just wanted clarification on landing overweight to Delta 564.
The 564, what verification are you looking for as far as landing overweight?
So max landing weight is 198. Right now our gross weight is 214. I just wanted to know if that's okay. You have to put in the book, write it up. You have to take a look at it.
Oh yeah, that's going to have to go in a book, and there's going to be several inspections we're going to have to perform on it.
All right, thank you for that. And dispatch Delta 564.
Dispatch is here. I'm still trying to get the duty pilot on the line as well.
All right, thanks.
Delta 564, turn right heading 180. Any update yet?
Looks like we're going to be returning 180.
Roger, thank you.
And Captain, I got in touch with duty pilot. Give me a couple seconds and he'll get on the line as well.
Thank you.
Delta 564, this is the duty pilot.
Hey, duty pilot, this is Delta 564. How's it going?
It's been pretty busy. How about yourself?
Yeah, just doing okay. We had a long delay in San Francisco, and now we have an issue with our auto throttles, and we don't think we should continue safely to JFK, so we're going to call it Fatigue Tier.
Okay, this is new to me. You're calling Fatigue Airborne?
Yeah, I was doing the return and spoke to dispatch, and they were saying that's their only recommendation in order to go back with this broken airplane.
Okay, and so explain to me what is wrong with the auto throttles. I'm a little confused on the fatigue versus a mechanical issue.
It's the auto throttles don't work, and so we could technically fly with no auto throttle, but we don't think that's a safe issue because of our duty time here and the time of how we left late out of JFK. That's why they said you could continue, and I suggested it was not a good idea to continue without auto throttles being at our circadian low. So they suggested I call in fatigue in order to return to San Francisco.
Okay, well, being that you're airborne, I would highly suggest that you not say that you are fatigued for operation and more for a mechanical situation. I'm not sure how we can report you're operating an airplane in a fatigue condition.
That's the only way they would say to return back to San Francisco. So I'm good to return, not fatigued yet. I said it would be fatiguing to fly throughout the United States without auto throttle at this late condition.
I mean, I understand that, but you're returning due to a mechanical issue. Cause, I mean, you're still operating a flight, so to be fatigued and operating, we don't need to say those two in the same. You understand what I'm saying? So
what dispatch was giving me. I didn't tell him to call you.
That you're physically operating an airplane, so we can't say that you're fatigued. So you're returning due to a mechanical issue.
Yes, we are returning due to a mechanical issue.
Okay, and so when you return, you land, and then you give us a call, and we'll talk about the fatigue issue from there, okay?
That sounds great. Delta 564.
All right, duty pilot out, Delta 564.
Thank you.
So 564, how's it looking?
Our dispatch right now, probably just a couple more minutes. Sorry about that for Delta 564.
Delta 564, roger. Turn rate hitting 330.
330, Delta 564. Okay, departure Delta 564. We are going to be returning to San Francisco, so we'll start getting set up for that. Could we get vectors kind of on our way back for 564?
Delta 564, turn left heading 180. You're clear to the San Francisco airport via radar vectors. Do you require any assistance?
No, we don't require any assistance. Heading 180 for Delta 564, thank you.
Delta 564, just verify, maintain 5,000.
Maintain 5,000 for Delta 564.
Delta 564, contact northbound approach on 133.905.
For your help. San Francisco approach, good morning, Delta 564, level 5,000, turning heading 180.
Delta 564, northbound approach, roger. San Fran, altimeter 2993, information is Delta, do you have it?
We do have Delta for Delta 564.
Delta 564, roger, descend and maintain 4,000, expect vectors straight in, 28 right, higher left.
Okay, descend and maintain 4,000, and we'll expect vectors for 28 right, ILS, Delta 564.
And Delta 564, I just wanted to clarify, there's no assistance needed, is that correct?
No assistance needed, thank you, Delta 564.
Delta 564, you're 5 miles from Seaton, turn right, heading 250, maintain 3,000 until established localizer, cleared out at straight right approach.
Right turn heading 250, maintain 3,000 until established on the localizer, cleared for the ILS 28 right approach, Delta 564.
Delta 564, you appear to have gone to the localizer, turn right heading 310 intercept.
310, sorry about that, Delta 564. We're having a little issue with our navigation, but 310, Delta 564.
Delta 564, okay. And maintain 2,600 until you're established.
2,600 till established. Are we still cleared to intercept?
Yeah, you're still clear approach. Delta 564, clear out, straight right approach.
Okay, cleared for the 28 right approach, Delta 564.
Delta 564, you're going to intercept just outside the marker there. Do you have the airport in sight?
Delta 564, is it possible to give us another turnaround?
Delta 564, yep. Cancel the approach clearance, climb maintain 4,000.
Cancel approach clearance, climb 4,000, Delta 564.
Delta 564, flighting 280.
Flying, heading 280, Delta 564.
Delta 564, turn left heading 180.
Left heading 180, Delta 564.
And Delta 564, are you ready to try it again?
Ready to try it again, Delta 564.
I'm sorry, you were cut off there, say again.
Ready for the approach, Delta 564.
Delta 564, turn left heading 100.
Left 100, Delta 564.
Delta 564, base turn about 2 miles.
Copy, Delta 564.
Delta 564, turn left heading 010.
Left 010, Delta 564.
Delta 564, would you rather have vectors to the localizer, or do you want to go to like Stephen on the localizer intercept?
Vectors will be okay. Delta 564.
Okay, roger. Delta 564, you're about 5 miles from Stephen, turn left, heading 310. Maintain 3,000 until established. Cleared out right approach.
310, 3,000 until established. Clear for the ILS 28 right approach, Delta 564.
Delta 564, release speed to 180 or less.
180 or less, Delta 564. Good evening, Tower, Delta 564, ILS runway 28 right.
Delta 564, target evening, wind 28017, runway 2 right, clear to land.
Clear to land, 28 right, Delta 564.
Is it over?
Okay, that was something.
Now the passengers were thinking, well, I guess we should be almost in New York by now.
Have you seen that bridge before?
It's awfully familiar.
It's a lot
Maybe it
like
was
the Bay
foggy.
Area.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Where to start with this one? Before we do, I'd like to say something I was going to say regarding the O'Hare controller. I thought he did a really nice job of maintaining, control of the situation with the American Airlines jet ingestion of the cargo container, and was very good at directing traffic, and everything about that controller there at O'Hare was great. And this controller as well, very patient with Delta Flight 564 or 654, depending on at what point you want to go with. But anyway, so we have a situation where they apparently left Kennedy kind of late, behind schedule.
Ooh, I have that information actually. It was.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, they were supposed to leave scheduled departure for 9 p.m. They actually departed, or I'm sorry, not from Kennedy, but from San Francisco. They were supposed to depart 9 p.m. Actual departure was 11:34.
Yeah, so I was saying Kennedy earlier in the day when they started this whole thing. The reason why they left San Francisco late was because they departed Kennedy late, according to what he was saying to Atlanta radio. And so they're already, it's already a long day. They've already been delayed. Hurry up, offload, onload, let's get out of here. And so obviously their whole trip is running late, and it's much later. What time did you say they actually left?
Like 11:30 p.m.
Okay.
They're supposed to leave at 9 p.m.
Okay. So they're running 2.5 hours late out of San Francisco now. And this is why I always recommend to people when you're traveling, always try to fly as early in the day as you can, because these things kind of end up, snowballing as the day goes on with delays and that kind of thing. So you're usually better off trying to fly a little bit earlier in the day if you can. Anyway, so right off the bat, there's a situation where he's probably trying to turn on the autopilot, and it's not connecting, and they have the message about the autopilot disconnect and the auto throttle system, and now he's thinking, okay, let's. Oh, well, we're saying from opposing bases, point of information, I think this was their only leg, San Francisco to Kennedy. The captain said JFK, but meant San Francisco, I believe. Okay, well, I just assumed that it was, turn, because he said for everything that happened before this. So maybe I just I jumped to a conclusion. And then when he said that earlier, when they had departed Kennedy late, I just put those things together. So it might be that this is their first leg of the day.
It could have been his commuting flight was late. Something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't, again, I'm making assumptions because I don't know the actual information. Now, if I were still an active airline pilot, I may have been able to figure out exactly what this trip looked like, but I can't now. So anyway, so they have the problem with the airplane, mechanical, and he's thinking, okay, this is just going to be too fatiguing for us to continue the flight with the aircraft, the suboptimal operation of the aircraft. Now, I think that they said they did have the autopilot connected, I think, when the first officer was flying around getting vectors and talking with ATC. They just couldn't, they had to manually adjust power with the throttle system because the auto throttle system was not working. And that is, it's easy for me, or an old fogey like me, or even an RJ pilot, right? A lot of the RJs have manual throttles, not some of them. The older ones, especially, I think, don't have auto throttle systems. So there are a lot of people out here listening to this are thinking, well, what's the big deal? You just, do your throttles manually. But if it's something that you haven't done for quite some time, it takes a little bit more attention to your thrust settings, et cetera, because it's all up to you. And so he's thinking, I don't want to deal with a 5-hour flight without auto throttles. And that's his prerogative as captain of this flight. The thing that I think is the biggest no-no that well, first of all, let's address another thing. Liveatc.net is it's not an official governmental kind of organization that comes up with the recordings of all the audio that we normally hear when we do the show. It's a private network of individuals. I mean, you could, dear listener, you could, if you're interested in aviation communications, you can actually set up your own scanner and receiver and be part of this Live ATC network.
They'll actually send you one if you're in the right spot.
Oh, will they? Okay.
Yeah, if you contact them on the website, you're in a spot where they need help, they'll give you the equipment. You can put it up.
And they just, I don't know exactly how it works because I don't have my own receiver or scanner or whatever. I don't know if they are asked by the management of Live ATC, this is the frequency that we really want you to be, monitoring and recording, or what, or if it's just up to the individual to decide, and it might have something to do with their proximity to the transmitters and that kind of thing. So again, I don't know exactly how that works, but it's not a very common thing for us to hear Live ATC recordings on those private frequencies that we heard. Now I say private, these are all actually public frequencies in the VHF spectrum that aircraft are using with their communications radios. And at my airline, it had a page and it had like geographic regions, and then you see where you are, what geographic region you are, and then it'll say 122.5 or whatever the designated frequency that we are to use to contact Atlanta Radio to do these kind of private or corporate or company communications. But they're not encrypted, they're not private, they're actually, I think it's pretty easy for anybody to find what frequencies those are. And I have seen on Live ATC, if you go to the liveatc.net website, you can see all the different frequencies that are listed there, and I've seen people put recordings on the Live ATC website of company communications, and it wasn't Delta, it was another company. So it's not very normal for us to see in these video, the YouTube videos, that company communications are included, but
it's not a state secret.
No, it's not a state secret, for sure.
And it probably comes down to somebody had to click that archive of that hour of recording and sit there and listen to it to find it. It wasn't
no,
just appeared. So
that's how we
there for a long time.
So if we're covering an incident, and nowadays there are so many YouTubers, YouTube channels out there that are finding these recordings on liveatc.net and coming up with these wonderful videos, and it's made it a lot easier for me because now I don't have to do all that footwork and trying to find what frequency because a lot of these places like San Francisco International or Atlanta or New York, whatever, they have multiple frequencies: ground control, tower, south tower, north tower, all these different frequencies, and you have to sometimes listen to a lot of these different recordings, and you have to know about what time this occurred, and there's a way you can find all this information on liveatc.net if they happen to have that frequency covered. Sometimes it's hit and miss, but as you said, Steph, it's not a state secret that these. And I think that one of the things to learn from this, especially if you're an active airline pilot, is that people can record these conversations, and you have to be. And we should know that anytime we talk to Atlanta radio or a dispatcher or whatever, even if we call them through the way that we were supposed to call them through a normal exchange, and then our call is directed, you have to understand that even the telephonic communications are being recorded, and also the recordings on your comms are being recorded anytime you contact your company. And now we're learning also that the public can actually, if they get, if they've tuned into the right frequency, they can hear it too. And we've even seen ACARS communications, again, another form of communicating digitally with the companies. That's not encrypted either. Now, I think that they're making efforts to encrypt ACARS communications, but I don't think they're there yet. So just wanted to throw that out there. So, but that's
before
something.
You speak and then choose your words carefully.
I'm sure that this captain now understands that the conversation that he was having wasn't real. I mean, you could just sense from the duty pilot especially, I've never had a calling fatigued while you're actually operating the flight kind of conversation. I'm imagining the duty pilot after he ended that conversation, like, Joe, you're not going to believe this. I can't believe we just had that conversation. That was all recorded.
He tried 7 times, listen to what I'm saying. You're not fatigued while you're flying. You're going to be fatigued on the ground.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but they said I couldn't do that. No. Listen to me.
Well, the crazy thing is they actually did not say that. They said, you're suggesting that he brought it up. He said, with all this going on, we're delayed for whatever reason it was, definitely delayed on the way back to New York. This flight left at 11 p.m. If our body clocks are on East Coast time for some reason, that's 11, 12, 1, 2 a.m. already. We have to deal with this and manage this the whole way, and we've had this other fault, and who knows what else might go wrong with it. We spent a bunch of time here talking to you guys. We burned up all of our reserve fuel. There's a lot of considerations there.
Those are a lot of
to continue the flight.
There are a lot of legitimate reasons, but the way that he did this was what was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said. So what you do as a captain is you say, okay, I have a mechanical problem here. In my opinion, this is not safe. I'm not comfortable with this. I've had a discussion with my other crew member. We're going to just tell NorCal when we want vectors to return, we're returning to San Francisco. We're going to be an overweight landing, blah, blah, blah. But I think this guy was looking for somebody to tell him that you should not go all the way to Kennedy tonight with this condition. But and that's what the way, and maybe even in his mind he thought that that's what they were telling him. But no, that's not what they were telling him. So as a captain, you make this decision, and then we have the discussion about fatigue and all the other things that are something that you have to consider once you're on the ground.
It's not that it wasn't a relevant or valid concern. It's just that it wasn't the reason to turn around. Well, it wasn't the reason that you're going to use to return right at that moment.
And
right, it's the mechanical issue.
His first officer, just going on the voices and the way they sounded, his first officer sounded a lot more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed than he did from step one. Like from when they talked in NorCal departure the first time, he sounded like he was done with this flight. He was tired.
You're right.
And she was right there. Every response was crisp and on it. So I'm wondering. I just had this idea in my head that he's like, yeah, we should go back, and she's like, well, I'm good to go. Like,
could be.
Jeff, can I ask a question?
Sure.
There was absolutely no mention of duty periods here. You know, how many duty hours you got left? Is Delta using a different way of calculating duty periods, or is it still got a time limit attached to it?
We have an FAR 117 that addresses duty periods, and it's all based on number of crew members and the time of day that your duty period started, number of legs on your scheduled duty period, etc. So it's all.
Yeah, it's one thing to say I'm fatigued, but it's much better is to say I'm going to run out of duty hours. I can't make it to New York. Or perhaps he wasn't going to run out of duty hours. Perhaps he had the duty period left to complete his flight, in which case you think of another reason. And you're quite right. The mechanical reasons would have been sufficient to bring him back. They might have asked him on the phone the next day, well, how come you can't get a JFK without an auto throttle? Because most people can fly without an auto throttle. So, you know. And then he might say, well, actually, I was also feeling fatigued. I was feeling a little unwell or whatever he wants to say. But it's not something you're quite right. It's not something you say over the radio.
Yeah, there are a lot of times out there in my career, in particular, where you have some kind of a mechanical situation. And most of these conversations and discussions occurred before you actually started operating the flight. Like before the flight, there's something going on, and then you start weighing, okay, the implications of not having that particular system. There are a lot of redundancies on these airliners, and then we have the minimum equipment list that lists things that we can go without and things that we can't. And we've talked about it so many times on this the show. And even there have been times when there's something that I'm just not comfortable with operating the flight without, even though the minimum equipment list says it's okay to operate this flight without weather radar. If I can get the dispatcher to tell me that there's not a cloud in the sky anywhere from where I'm going, and where I'm leaving and where I'm going. Of course, they'll never do that. They'll never tell you that there's never going to be a cloud in the sky. But that's just maybe a poor example. But if I decide that I understand it's legal, I have this discussion with the dispatcher and maybe even up the line a little bit to the duty pilot. But if I, as a captain operating this flight, decide that I'm not comfortable with it, then guess what? I'm not going to operate the flight. And it's up to the company to say, okay, we're going to find somebody that will operate the flight. And you go, okay, well, fine. And in that situation, you have to be very sure that the decision that you're making, because it's going to affect a lot of people and maybe cost the company a lot of money if you make a decision to not operate a flight, cancel a flight. So you have to be ready when you make this decision to go and visit the chief pilot at some point soon after your trip ends to explain yourself. And you better have a pretty darn good reason for making that decision. But guess what? It's still your decision to make. So that's why you're the commander. You're the captain of the flight. You have to make, and it's not, don't look for anybody else to tell you, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're going to be fatigued. Yeah, we want you to bring the airplane back to San Francisco.
Yeah.
I was a little bit
worried
decision
by this guy's attitude, because not only was he looking for someone to back him up, to allow him to return, he wanted someone to authorize him to do an overweight landing. And I'm going, no, mate, that is entirely your decision. That's got nothing to do with anybody on the ground. You make the decision. You're the captain. You make the decision. And it, really and honestly, I don't know what he was trying to do. No one else can authorize him. He's the guy that makes the decision. He's the guy that does the landing. So,
and that's, you could tell by the tone of the voices from the mechanics to the dispatcher. They're all like, you're the captain, man. You're and there, now in the U.S. Under the regulations, the dispatcher is 50% of the decision making. But I've always thought, well, it's really more like 51% for the captain and 49% for the dispatcher, because the dispatcher is sitting in a beautiful operational control center, drinking his coffee or Mountain Dew or whatever, nice and comfortable. He's not in that airplane at that moment. And because the captain is, and they're actually in there at the controls of the airplane, they are controlling the flight directly. They're the ones that have a little bit of an edge as far as the decision making is concerned, in my opinion. I think everybody would agree. Yes, main man Micah says, I'm very curious about his aviation background as a pilot, his age, his experience in command. Yeah, no idea. He could have been a new captain, new to the aircraft. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to be disparaging against him. I think his general line of thinking about operating the flight was good. It's just the way that he went about it and trying to get everybody else to basically say, yes, that would be the right decision, Captain. We're all behind you. And they weren't. They were just giving him the information that they felt that they needed to give him to make a decision.
Well, in my ignorance, I have a question about the situation itself. So the TAT is air temperature, right? And that affects
total air temperature.
Yeah, so that affects a whole lot more systems than just auto throttle, right? Because you're getting things like true airspeed or Mach number from that. You're getting
they've got more than one sensor. So at least I'm assuming it's 757.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. But
I was looking something up a second ago that some of them only have one and some of them have two.
On the 757? Oh, interesting.
757, 767 have single probe. Some new production 767s have two probes.
Wow.
So
sorry, all the Airbuses I've flown have three.
Well, so I think that when they were having the discussion with the mechanic, maintenance and dispatch, there was a consideration to be made. They talked about icing, and then you might get some erroneous information. So that involves that TAT sensor. And that would have been, I mean, regardless of whether you can use the auto throttle system or not, that may have been enough of a consideration to say, you know what, I don't think that this will be a safe operation.
And that's kind of what I was going towards, is that the guy kind of focused on, hey, we're tired, not, hey, this could affect several significant mechanical things in the airplane. I would have leaned in, kind of like the duty pilot was trying to say, like, hey, you have a mechanical issue. Lean into that right now.
Yes, that's what he was trying to get him to read between the lines. Like, Captain, I almost wish he said, you understand that we are being recorded right now. Right? Let's think about what you're saying, and let's treat this as a mechanical problem, because that's what it is. Right. Once you get the thing on the ground, then let's talk about what we're going to do from this point on.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is the guy had the opportunity to use that. He had the valid reason to do it. He didn't recognize it at the time, or didn't use that as an argument.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I mean, in a way, I wish that this hadn't been recorded. But on the other hand, it gives us kind of some insight of what's happening behind the scenes. The the view from our side of the cockpit door, is our tagline. And on our side of the cockpit door, in the cockpit, the flight deck, whatever, this is stuff happening, and communications with a lot of different people, not just the air traffic controllers out there. There are a lot of things going on. Now, a normal flight, you're not going to have this kind of a situation, but it happens every now and then, and I think that, again, I'm hoping that people will, understand that when you're having conversations, you have to think about the implications of what you're saying. And, because the FAA is going to, we're listening to this. I'm sure that they've already listened to it, gone, I think we need to talk to that company, and maybe they need to kind of talk.
I'm sure the chief pilot listened to it.
Yeah, and we need to talk with our pilot group and say, hey, let's think about what we're saying and how we're making our decisions.
This
in flight.
Unfortunately not anonymized, but it's just like reports that are given out. All the things that are studied is an opportunity for a lot of people to learn from someone else's experiences. I don't want to say mistakes, but their experiences, and go, oh, people can hear that. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Looks like Camacho Man is working with some work-related issues, and so he's hoping that he'll be able to come back and join us, but if not, it's completely understandable. So, all right. We're having a discussion with our producer. Okay. All right. We're going to skip a few. We have several really good news items, but, unless we're going to make it a 4 or 5 hour show, we need to kind of filter through some of this. So we're going to skip to E, and this is from, I think, a couple of different places. One, Reuters, and also the avweb.com website. Okay. The FAA will launch an audit to assess runway incursion risks at the 45 busiest U.S. airports. On Tuesday, the FAA announced that it will begin an audit to assess runway incursion risk. Okay, I wish that I hadn't read that, because that's the caption for that stupid picture that has no relation whatsoever to this article. Okay, according to Reuters, the audit will evaluate each airport's risks, identify potential issues with procedures and equipment, and make recommendations to improve safety. FAA's Air Traffic Safety Oversight Service is conducting the review and expects to complete it by early 2025. The agency's study is partly in response to recommendations made in November of 2023 by an independent aviation review team, which called for urgent actions to enhance safety after several close calls involving passenger jets. As recently as last month, a controller cleared a Southwest plane to cross a runway just seconds before another controller cleared an Alaska Airlines jet to take off. And we talked about that one on the last couple of episodes. The Alaska aircraft was forced to abort its takeoff to prevent a collision from occurring, narrowly averting disaster. These incidents have raised concerns among aviation stakeholders and agencies like the National Transportation Safety Board, which is currently investigating multiple close calls. Meanwhile, the FAA says it's in the process of implementing new surface awareness technologies at airports around the country to further enhance safety and mitigate incursion incidents. And then, again, the other article from Reuters, does it really say anything else regarding this? This was the source article for the AvWeb article. Okay. And they talk a little bit about staffing. President Joe Biden wants funding to hire 2,000 new controllers, and several reports have warned of the safety impacts of shortages of controllers. And we all agree with that. We need many, many more. And from what I understand, the current staffing is such that controllers are having to work very long work weeks and also a lot of overtime, and that's just that's a recipe for potential disaster. But also, as we've discussed on our show, like last episode, the San Diego incident with the Southwest, actually involving two different Southwest flights. The also like hardware, like the runway status awareness, or I forgot exactly what the official name of those lights that are embedded, that are not controlled by air traffic control but by sensors in the runways. Charlotte has the system. I'm not sure if it has it on all the runways, but at least the ones that I used mostly when I was actively flying. Yeah, they always put me on those. Oh yeah, thanks, Liz. She said they always put me on those runways because they need as much safety awareness as possible when I'm operating an airline flight. But anyway, there are a lot of places that have these systems, but they're very expensive. And I guess this audit is going to consider perhaps, maybe trying to get some more funding for increased staffing of controllers, and also maybe some more technologies for surface awareness. So that's a good thing. Yeah, it is very timely based on the incidents we've been discussing. All right, Camacho's back with us. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to do item F. This is from AOPA.org. And it says the FAA ruling on A&P supervision, airframe and power plant is what A&P stands for, not the Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, which is a grocery store chain here in the U.S. Did they still have A&P stores? I think they're
used
gone.
to be.
The last one I saw was like maybe in the Outer Banks, but that was a decade ago.
Yeah, I think they're gone. Yeah.
There was an A&P next to the house I grew up in many years ago that has long since disappeared.
There were a couple in Roswell that I used to frequent back in the 90s, I believe, early 90s. Anyway, yeah, why don't you take the lead on this one, Nick?
Okay. Let's see. I know I sent Liz the articles, but I didn't actually look how she. Did we put? Yeah, she put both of them in there. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
I'll read part of the first one real quick, and then I'll read the second one.
All right.
It says on September 3rd, FAA attorneys released a legal interpretation of 14 CFR 43.3D, effectively changing the FAA's view of the standard maintenance supervision model that has been in place for the past 60 years. Without industry intervention to have the FAA reconsider its new view, the A&P experience-based training and owner-assisted maintenance models cannot survive. A new FAA legal interpretation stands to devastate general aviation by prohibiting remote supervision of maintenance activities. To understand the significance of the FAA's action, it's important to understand how maintenance supervision has worked for decades. The model for aircraft maintenance quality and safety is based on two separate processes: performing maintenance and approving the work for return to service. The regulations allow for anyone to perform maintenance on an aircraft, excluding inspections, so long as they are supervised by someone certificated to perform the task being accomplished. This is what makes it possible for shops to train new mechanics, allow for owner-assisted annuals or maintenance, and leverage greater staff resources to make the maintenance industry work. Specifically, 14 CFR 43.3D includes the following. A person working under the supervision of the holder of a mechanic or repairman certificate may perform maintenance, preventive maintenance, and alterations that his supervisor is authorized to perform if the supervisor personally observes the work being done to the extent necessary to ensure that it is being done properly, and if the supervisor is readily available in person for consultation. And this is me talking now, going away from the article. So that, basically they're laying out like the word for word definition of mechanic supervision. And let me skip down here a little bit. Let's see. The Moss interpretation. FAA regulations under 14 CFR are the rules that those who operate under FAA jurisdiction must follow or risk facing violation or prosecution. However, in cases where a particular regulation may be ambiguous, a request for interpretation may be made to the FAA Chief Counsel. The response, in the form of a letter or memo, becomes the agency's legal position that the FAA staff will follow. This means that the enforcement actions against individuals and businesses will be based on both the text in applicable regulations and any relevant legal opinions or interpretations made by FAA attorneys. The Moss interpretation began on July 8th, 2022, when Jonathan Moss, manager of the Little Rock Flight Standards District Office, the FSDO, requested an interpretation of 14 CFR 43.3D, essentially asking if a supervisor must be physically present at the site of the maintenance, or if he may supervise remotely through Zoom, FaceTime, live TV, photographs, downloadable video, or other electronic means. It took the FAA over 2 years. It took over 2 years for the FAA to respond with an interpretation, and as is often the risk with asking for an interpretation, the response went much further than a yes-no answer to the question being asked. Included in the 3-page Moss interpretation were 2 essential elements. The first addressed the concept of remote or video supervision. The Office of Chief Counsel finds that the phrase in person explicitly requires physical presence. Virtual presence through a live feed or other technological means cannot replace the physical presence of a supervising mechanic. The second addressed the concept of supervision itself. The phrase readily available in person for consultation contemplates a physical, hands-on approach to supervision. The certificated mechanic must be available not just to answer questions, but to notice mistakes and take over if necessary. So this article continues for a while. This is AOPA's article. I don't remember if I mentioned it at the top, but I'll stop there and just point out. So the concern of many people is really kind of the second bullet there. The phrase readily available in person for consultation contemplates a physical hands-on approach. The certificated mechanic must be available not just to answer questions, but to notice mistakes and take over if necessary. And the big concern in the aviation maintenance industry, at least in the journalistic general aviation area, I think EAA, AOPA, and AvWeb all put articles out on this, is that basically the way that the general aviation maintenance model works is that a lot of these shops have, they may have 1 or 2 IAs, which are AMPs with inspection authorization, and then kind of below them they may have 3 or 4 AMPs, which are certificated mechanics, but they don't have they don't have the certification to sign off inspections, major alterations, major repairs. And then below them are essentially shop apprentices, non-certificated mechanics that are working under the supervision of those AMPs, IAs. And, I think the big concern here is as you get those people trained up, they can't do anything on their own in terms of returning the airplane to service. But a lot of times, you may have one AMP overseeing or supervising 2 or 3 non-certificated mechanics, but that AMP is still having to inspect the work and do his due diligence because he's signing it off. It's his name on the line and it's his liability. So I think people will kind of set their, different people have different levels of comfort in doing that, but I think that it is, when you say that I think there's a big gap in an AMP, like physically looking over the shoulder of a apprentice mechanic full time while he's doing the work versus being able to work with someone and understand their competency level and trust them to do various tasks that are inspectable and provide the supervising mechanic the confidence to allow them to continue on, basically. So the overarching concern here is that a lot of people think the FAA said there is no way that any sort of shop structure that is not one-to-one supervision full-time is acceptable any longer. And then at that point, it brings up the question, how does the apprenticeship approach to learning by experience basically work at that point, because now you have an AMP who, you know, when you get down to the brass tacks of it, you got an AMP who can make X amount of dollars doing 8 hours of work. And then if you add an apprentice into the mix, that AMP is probably going to be able to get less work done because he's supervising an apprentice to do the work. The apprentice is going to be slower. So that was a big interpretation that came out about a month ago. And then last week, this next article came out. I won't read it all, but essentially, I think AOPA and EAA wrote a letter to the FAA, and the FAA has essentially stayed that interpretation. So it has, I guess they're saying it's not gone into effect, but let me read this article, or this paragraph here. Although we have the good news is on October 15th, the FAA issued a temporary legal stay of the Moss interpretation. However, the letter is very clear that this is only temporary action while the agency reviews its policies and regulatory options, and that this stay does not represent a conclusion on the contents of that interpretation. Although we have a temporary reprieve from the enforcement of the Moss interpretation, a larger battle remains. We must address how video and electronic supervision can be used to help improve aviation safety rather than compromising it. We must ensure that certificated mechanics maintain their ability to supervise trainees and aircraft owners performing maintenance in accordance with the complexity of the task and experience of the individual. We must also address the concerns that some pilots have regarding maintenance, quality, and safety. The system that has been in place for decades relies on two principal foundations. Certificated mechanics and technicians have the authority to use their judgment when supervising uncertificated trainees, owners, and staff to ensure the work is being done properly. And two, only a certificated mechanic may sign off on the work performed, personally attesting that the work was done properly and that it is airworthy and approved for return to service. I sent this article because aviation in general, and general aviation specifically, is starting to run into a dearth of mechanics, especially good mechanics. And I always looked at the AMP route in terms of being a skill that you can go to work as an apprentice, get paid while you're learning, basically on the job training, right? You're not going to get paid. You're not going to make a really good salary, but you'll be making money while you're learning. And then after a couple of years, you can go test and become a certificated mechanic. And at that point, you'll have what equates to like a skill that is in very high demand right now. So for any sort of
it's just making a bigger barrier to entry to the field,
exactly.
essentially. I mean, you have this, it's very different from, just take the pilot side of aviation where people spend lots and lots and lots of their own money or take out loans to get the training and experience necessary. Here's a profession that, had this pathway that was on the job where you could earn at least not have to take out as much in terms of loan or personal finances to get the necessary training and then come out on the other end with an excellent career. And it's been that way for a long time. There's years and years of precedent for how this has worked, especially in this country. And yeah, that's a big change potentially.
Yep. And I will say,
I'm finding it a little hard to understand how the FAA could change the wording of this regulation without realizing the potential impact, number one. Number two, don't they do any consultation beforehand with these organizations whilst they're in this is what we're thinking of putting out, guys. You got any comments, rather than issuing it and then having to backpedal when they realize that they might have made a huge blunder?
Yeah, I don't think so. And I'm not even sure that they are, they're looking at it, I believe, from more of like a purely legal standpoint rather than like a how is it supposed to work, or what was the intent, I guess.
Yeah, well,
you know,
I
it feels
don't
like
think
here
that
it's
bit of it was broken beforehand.
Right, and I think
they wanted
large...
clarification on something completely unrelated to this, and it was to do with electronic monitoring of people rather than physical monitoring.
Right, and
yet,
that's the biggest complaint, right, is that they asked one question, the FAA was like, let's tweak this other knob while we're tweaking this knob. I'll admit that I'm still a little unclear, you know, it is not clear to me where electronic communication fits in. I think there probably is a use case for it, but I was very fortunate in my situation that I always had like immediate in-person access to people helping me, whether it was obviously when I was in Kansas with my dad or in California, I had 2 or 3 older guys, one guy on my hangar row and another guy within close proximity. So I always had somebody, if I, felt uncomfortable or had a question, I always had somebody that could come show up and steer me in the right direction.
It sounds like something that was born out of maybe more of an academic setting anyway, because that's where you tend to get nowadays like telelearning opportunities happening. So if you have folks going through a more structured program, it may be that, we've got, this instructor for all of these different students, and they're the one with the certificate and the rating. And would it be the same if we can just have them on this video monitor, like, basically a fancy Zoom call while they're doing work and watching and signing off on things? That's kind of where it sounds like maybe it came from, but not the same as what
COVID, right? So this was sent in. This question was sent in 2022. So I wonder if it was somebody spent a year seeing the proliferation of video communication just explode and say like, hey, this has become super useful in all these other places. I wonder if it could be useful here.
Just goes to show how dangerous asking the question can be.
You mentioned a shortage. That's a way to potentially make use of limited resource to train more folks.
Right, and there is so that's true, Nick, and a lot of people point that out. But I think the important caveat here is that it was actually a FAA employee asking the question.
Yes.
So I suspect what happened was, somebody in his jurisdiction asked like a non-official question. He just said, hey, by the way, what do you think of this? And this FAA official said, I don't know. Yeah. I guess I need to figure that out. And then send it up the chain, and here's the result. So.
Yeah, well,
gotta love the regulatory
it's all a big bucket
folks.
Of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm completely confused by all of this.
I understand it thoroughly, and I wasn't even here.
Wow. Well, you're a lot smarter than I am, that's for sure.
That's right. That's why he was doing the driving, Jeff.
Yeah. So what's your take on all this, AJ?
I worked at an A&P shop when I was about 14, and I stopped working at an A&P shop when I was about 15, and decided that it was much better if somebody else fixed the airplanes.
It goes way faster that way. I'm a living testament to that.
And that's why our, in general, safety system is so safe now, is because of that decision made by AJ when he was 15.
You're welcome, all of you.
Well, thank you. Wow. Yeah, I think you're right, Liz. Let's go ahead and anything else we should add before we go to getting to know us? No? All right. Thanks, Camacho, for trying to explain that whole thing regarding the FAA and A&P SOPs. All right, here we go. Time for that segment called Getting to Know Us, where we kind of get to find out what everybody has been up to between episodes. It's actually my favorite part of the show. And so I mentioned at the beginning that we have a guest host with us tonight, AJ Schramm, or Alpha Juliet, for those of you who are listeners or audience members of the that other wonderful podcast. So just a reminder before you tell us about yourself, AJ, to everyone. You'll remember back in, was it May that we,
Sounds
April or May? It was earlier in the year.
It's when Nick came over.
When Nick came over from England, and we had our little APG retreat in Charlotte and meetup and everything else. After we returned to Atlanta and before Captain Nick returned home to England, we went down to the Atlanta International Airport, not to do anything aviation related, although I don't know, he was driving those darn Porsches so fast that they were almost airborne. But we went down to the Porsche North American headquarters, I believe.
It's
there.
The Porsche Car North America headquarters, as well as the Porsche Experience Center, Atlanta.
And that's where you work, and that's where we got to meet AJ and drive, or he was driving. We were passengers, and this was very...
He was screaming.
Very, very fast car. And a wonderful track. They have a couple of tracks now that Porsche has built right there at the approach end of runway 27 right. 26 right. You were correct. 26 right.
I know it
wow.
well
It doesn't take long for me to forget all the designations of the runways, does it?
Well, you don't remember the final approach fix for 26 right, do you?
I remember 27 left's depot. AJ. Oh, I see why. It's AJ. I don't think it has anything to do with you, though, does it?
Hey,
be honest.
Who knows?
No, I don't think so.
Never know.
He wrote a petition.
It's been AJ for quite some time, AJ.
Well, AJ's looking quite old now.
Yeah, well, he's not that old. How old are you, sir?
Old enough to know better.
Okay. Wow. It's like asking a lady her age. Okay, I see. Yeah. All right. Well, so anyway, we got to meet up with AJ at the Porsche Experience and had some good food together and great conversation and then I guess it was actually before that, wasn't it, AJ, when you met up? We had a little small APG meetup up in Alpharetta.
I think it was a few months before that. You had that one. That was that little restaurant up in Alpharetta.
Yeah, a little barbecue joint up in Alpharetta. Anyway, and then also during Oshkosh, got a chance to hang out with AJ quite a bit, and that was a lot of fun. So, tell us, just you have the floor, and tell us about AJ.
It's dangerous. A lot, not a lot to tell at the same time. Been a pilot, been flying since I was very small. My father was a flight instructor, is a flight instructor. He's actually still the chief instructor for our club. So our running joke is that I was my first experience as the sole operator of the controls. I was about 3, and my mother was in the back seat of said 172, clutching things quite desperately. But she let me fly. He let me fly around while she was muted in the back seat, which was great. But grew up flying. Flew gliders, flew small, piston engine, single engine planes and stuff like that, and took about 10 years off from flying to go race cars. Kind of fell into that backwards a little bit, but managed to survive the world of motorsports for a total of about 15 years, doing various things from driving to coaching to management stuff and teams and all kinds of different things. But I've basically figured out that my 3 favorite things in life are motorsports, aviation, and teaching. And I found a place at where I'm at now that I get to do 2 of them and watch the 3rd all day long. So kind of found my happy place. But still fly as much as I can. Try to fly on the weekends and things like that, and do stuff like, angel flights and stuff to make it worthwhile. And
well, speaking of angel flights and charitable work and that sort of thing, I saw some pictures of you and heard some audio of your experience helping the folks in the aftermath of Helene in North Carolina. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we went up, took the 182, which I have affectionately dubbed the FedEx box. If it fits, it ships. So the other running joke is if you can shut the door, it will fly. and I actually proved that.
Can confirm.
I had to actually deform one of the boxes slightly in order to shut the door, and we successfully did that mission and dropped stuff off. But yeah, we went up and flew some things, some supplies and stuff from the Statesville and the Greensboro area, and flew them over into some of the mountain communities that were from where the airport was. They weren't hit very hard because they were right in the I-path, and they could get down into some of those lower communities and things that were inaccessible from outside that area. But you couldn't get into that area from the outside because a lot of the roads were damaged and washed away and things like that. So really amazing experience. The way that community all just immediately stood up and said, yep, we're here to do it. We're doing it.
Did you have any celebrities, like aviation podcast celebrities that you bumped into during that
there
whole
was
thing?
this guy that kept saying he had a podcast, and he just got in the back of the airplane, so we kind of stacked stuff around him and on top of him, and it worked out fine.
Kind of muffled his
yeah.
his
I kept hitting
voice.
the crew isolate button on the intercom. No, it was great. No, yeah, RH joined us for one of our missions, and joined us, and then jumped out of our airplane and jumped into another one of our friends' airplanes, Ben, as we mentioned him earlier on the show. And we actually got to do a little bit of formation flying during that, which was added to some excitement, because why not fly through the mountains where there's nowhere to land anyway, but fly close to other airplanes and do it at the same time.
Why not?
So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoyed it, and we experienced just about everything you can experience in general aviation in 2 days. We had a bird strike. That was fun. There's some good audio from that. If anybody wants to go dig around on the other show, the cockpit audio was aired on their show, and it's pretty exciting. Had a small engine issue that happened right over short run, right over the numbers. So, funny story. The airplane actually, after our last mission, had to leave the airplane in the mythical land of Triad for a week to get it fixed, and then actually turned into a cool opportunity. Got to go back up there with another friend of mine, did another angel flight from the Atlanta area up into the mountains there, and dropped off some supplies, but got to do that in a turboprop Malibu, which was really, really cool. That was a lot of fun. Really neat airplane. And so it was quite the excitement-packed experience overall. But like I said, the way that people just responded to that, just started, just giving their time, their energy, and their everything was really impressive. So
that's the thing about tragedies. They really affect people in a negative way, but almost always, maybe always, there's good that comes from it as well. And humans working together to take care of other humans is the silver lining, I guess.
Exactly right. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Well,
I'm
really
glad that you were
appreciate
part of that
doing-
silver lining.
Yeah, really appreciate all you did for helping out there. Definitely makes a difference.
Thanks.
Definitely a selfless guy. Like at Oshkosh, when you snuck me into the that one gate to have some gumbo and beer. That was definitely
one beer. It was only one.
One, of course. That's all I ever drank. Just one at a time.
Can confirm.
Deanna Tickle says in our live audience, I'm in North Carolina, though I'm not personally affected. I thank you for helping. It's so needed. Yeah, still. People's everything they have, including their house, is gone completely. And they've lost, family members as well. Just a huge loss of life. And
just the infrastructure loss alone is crazy. It makes, as AJ was saying, it's so difficult just to transport things still in a lot of places. And even things you don't think about often, take for granted. Most of Asheville, I think, still without good potable water. Lots of ongoing need.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So just a quick question, AJ, before you go, because I know you have another engagement, aviation-related lecture that you're going to partake in tonight. So going back to the motorsports, did you start driving go-karts and that kind of thing, and just trying to understand how you made the progression of, you didn't just show up at a track and say, hey, I can drive cars fast. Let me drive this one for you.
They actually caught me out in the parking lot at my first race event doing donuts, and they said, hey, get this guy some keys. No, I did a little bit of actually very non-traditional route, I guess. I didn't start until my early 20s into motorsports. Anybody that goes into motorsports in any sort of professional capacity generally starts when they're around about the time they take their first steps. That's usually when you can kind of get started, because by the time you're in your early 20s, you're old and retired.
How long ago was that?
It was a couple decades ago, give or take.
Okay, there we go.
Maybe.
Now we're getting an idea of how old he is.
So my dad finally got his dream car. He got a 944 Turbo, which is a really cool car. And he said, hey, I'm going to do a track day. Do you want to come with me? And I'm like, we're using your car, right? He goes, yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So I went and started doing some track days and enjoyed it, had a lot of fun, and met a lot of cool people, and was kind of good at it, kind of enjoyed the experience. And he calls me one day, and this is actually another facet that I didn't really cover, but I was working for the police department at the time. For some reason, the state of Georgia decided it was a good idea for a period of time to pay me to ride a Harley Davidson motorcycle and carry a gun. That was a fun time as well. So anyway,
that was a lapse in judgment by the state of Georgia.
You sure this is okay?
Oh yeah. So I can just see AJ out there on the Harley.
Yeehaw! Accurate. with the theme song playing in the background, of course.
Yeah. See if I can do this right.
Yeehaw! Wait, were you there?
Yeah, I was recording the whole thing. I have the video too, but we don't have all day.
Yeah. So anyway, he called me up one day and he said, "Hey, I can't forget this moment. I'm sitting in the back admin room at the police department typing out a report, and it's this cinder block room with 0 windows. It is the worst place on the planet to be. And I'm typing out this report, and I get this text message, and he says, "Hey, can you go pick up this car?" And it turns out he found this really, really inexpensive 944 race car that was already built and already done. He said, we can use this car and go get our club racing licenses. And so my response was basically the same. We're using your car, right? He goes, yeah. I was like, yeah, okay. So went and got our club racing licenses and started doing some amateur level racing stuff, some local track here, Road Atlanta. It's pretty well-known track, but it's pretty local to us.
Brazelton?
And yeah, Brazelton, Georgia, exactly right. And had some fun doing it, and just kind of, like I said, sort of fell backwards into it. Started getting opportunities to do other drives with other teams and things like that. And I actually went back to school and got a degree in motorsports technology, mostly on principle, because I found out you could get a degree from college in race cars. And I went, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, so I'm interested in that.
It worked out really well, and did that for a little over a decade. Like I said, just about every aspect of motorsports I've done something with or been involved with, and managed to eat, as you can see. Not wasting away quite. Fed a couple of kids doing it. Didn't buy a new yacht or anything like that, of course, but survived and enjoyed it. And I'm kind of on the cusp of looking at a new career, going back towards aviation. So maybe looking at doing some flying gigs and stuff coming up. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Very cool. Well, can't wait to hear about how your journey proceeds in aviation endeavors. Yeah. All right. Liz is actually giving her stamp of approval. Come back again sometime when you have some more time. Anything else you'd like to say before you leave? Thanks for taking the time to join us.
Other than thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. We've talked plenty of times. I love talking about airplanes and anything that turns dinosaur bones into noise, basically. So airplanes, race cars, and whatever. So yeah, love to come back. Glad to be here and really enjoyed it.
Well, just to be on the record, the 2 bowls of gumbo and the single beer that you treated me to when you snuck me into the place, the Comanche, what is it, the Comanche group
Town.
Or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he basically said, you owe me. And so, okay, now we're even.
Okay, all right. I'll have to send you some gin or something then, I guess. We'll see.
Well, hey, people have been known to do that.
There you go. Well, I mean, you're right down the road, so I've been saying.
Yeah, I know. We need to get together here locally and have have a joint. No, wait, let me rephrase that.
Word choice is very
I know.
important.
As soon as it came out of my mouth,
people are listening. This is being recorded.
I'm feeling fatigued. I'm not going to continue this flight because I'm fatigued. No, I mean have a what I mean is what's another way of saying joint? Like bring so a joint meetup with people that are just into aviation podcasts here in the Atlanta area. Maybe we can co-host the thing and have a nice meetup or something like that.
Absolutely.
Here in Atlanta. All right. Well, you need to go.
See you guys later. Thanks so much.
Thanks, AJ.
AJ. Cheers.
And yeah, leave everything running just to make sure we got your recording. Thank you.
Will do.
All right. Very good. So we got to know AJ since the last time he was on the show, which was never. So who wants to go next? Tell us about what they've been up to. How about Captain Nick? Okay.
Nothing's happened, but I'll happily talk about the cover art.
Okay.
Let's have the cover up. We had a number of suggestions last week, but I thought the easiest was going to be a takeoff from the lovely phrase we often use: aviate, navigate, communicate, referring to the the air traffic controller and the pilots he was controlling who were upsetting him, and he kind of lost it a bit.
A little bit.
He lost it a lot. So I turned those three into aggravate, nauseate, and capitulate. I wanted to put in copulate, but I didn't think that would pass
Not
the
sure exactly
censors.
how that would work out, actually, in that situation.
Thankfully, that was not part of the scenario. That would have been
Yeah,
really
that would have been-
awkward.
I thought it might be something that, what the controller was trying to say to the pilot, go copulate or something.
Go copulate yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. So that worked out well. So there's two different actual AI produced images in there, but it came together very well. You can see the logo in the red board. There it is,
look at that.
inside the tower. The numbers are a little more hidden. If you look at the motion lines coming out of the mouth of the air traffic controller, the middle few look like 635, and that was
about
the
as
show
good as my
number.
handwriting.
Yeah. I didn't want to make it too easy, Steph. If I made it look like your handwriting, no one would have got it.
It's true.
Yeah. There's no way I would have gotten that if you hadn't shown us the zoom in.
Go on, of course you would. It stood out like a sore thumb to me, but there you go.
Yeah, well, I wonder why. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's it. That's all from me.
Oh, okay. Camacho, what have you been up to? You're muted.
Dang it. I was last show. I was in Colorado visiting some friends.
Well, hang on. I'm gonna interrupt you, and then you can start over again. If you'll do me a favor, disconnect the Motu from your computer. Wait for a few seconds and then reconnect it, because we're getting that USB crackly noise. And then you might have to do something with StreamYard. Can you hear me? No. Shoot, I should have told him that before he disconnected.
Told me what?
Okay, yeah. Now you're hearing me now, and reselect your microphone in StreamYard. Yep, there we go. Okay, say something.
Say something.
Ah, good. That fixed
Better?
it. Yeah, perfect. All right,
man.
go ahead. So what have you been up to?
Last time I was on the show, I was in Colorado visiting some friends. One of my friends has a property out there with a hangar and an airplane. So I went out there to help him do a few things on his airplane. It was an interesting trip. I flew from Wichita to Denver, and then to Alamosa on Denver Air Connection, I think is what it's called. Very small airline.
DAC.
I think it's a essential air service airline. They operate Metroliners. I don't know if anybody remembers Metroliners, little cigar-looking thing. I always thought
San Antonio sewer pipe.
Sewer pipe, yeah. I always thought they'd be kind of cool to ride on, but I didn't get to ride on one. I think they are like 3 feet tall on the inside, so probably not very comfortable. But they also operate RJ-145s, so that's what I got to fly on.
Wow.
It was open seating, which was unusual to me. It was also not connected to the United system, which was new to me. So you show up in Denver, you have to walk up to their gate, and they print you off a paper boarding pass. Then you have to explain to anyone who's under the age of 40 what a paper boarding pass is, and make sure that they don't lose it between the time they give it to you and the time you get on the airplane. And then they just lined us up and walked us out onto the ramp to board the airplane because they don't have a jetway or anything. And the airplane was maybe 30% capacity. And we blasted off into the wild to go out to Alamosa, which is on the kind of west and southwest, I guess, southwest of Denver. About 45 minutes by airplane, and I think about 4 hours by car. So,
nice. Did you get a sneak or a peek of the pilots?
A peek of the pilots.
I mean, did you see the pilots?
Yes.
Were they
As a matter of fact, both of
old
the pilots,
fogies like me and Nick, or were they young people?
No. Let's see. One flight, they were both probably late 20s to early 30s, and then one flight, one of them was probably a little bit older than me, and one was probably late 20s.
Okay.
So all fairly young people. And to your approval, Captain Jeff, they both, as we were all boarding, they both stood at the bottom of the ramp and said hello to everybody while
nice.
we all boarded. And then when we were getting off, they both were out of the cockpit, standing at the bottom of the ramp.
Yes.
Thanking everybody. So, yeah.
They haven't
They haven't lost the touch yet.
They haven't, delved into a bad attitude yet.
Yep. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's the extent of it. Man, it was such a beautiful place. So Alamosa itself is in a valley. I think I mentioned that last time. The San Luis Valley, which gets a little confusing because it's the San Luis Valley Airport. I usually go to the San Luis Obispo Airport. But my buddy's got a hangar out on a decently sized piece of property and is like 21 miles from Mount Blanco, I think, one of the 14,000 foot mountains. And there's like nothing in between his building and the mountain, like nothing of substance, right? So he built a little observation deck off of his hangar, and it's just super cool place to go out there and stand in the morning and drink your coffee and look at this majestic mountain that was already very snowy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was going to say probably temperatures on the cool side.
Yeah, they were down into the 30s at night, which is, here in Wichita, it's been a little unusual because it's still been really warm. It was 94 or 92, I think.
Ooh.
In the low 90s
That's
on
hot.
Monday.
not a little warm. That's like
that's a lot warm.
Sweltering for October.
For October?
Yeah, so we've set a couple of records. I keep waiting. See, my wife likes hot weather, so she doesn't mind like 75 on up, but I'm like a 60 to 75 kind of person. And we're getting set up to just skip that portion. It'll be 85 degrees until the second week of November, and then it'll immediately go to like 30 degrees, which will be great.
Yeah, it's been getting up into the low 80s here, which is very unusual for Atlanta this time of year, and I'm sure Charlotte's the same way, right?
Upper 70s. Yeah, I think we hit 81 2 days ago. Today was, it says it's 68 right now. It was a super pleasant day today. Like it's like not quite crisp fall yet. It's just nice. You go outside, you're like, oh, sunny.
It's 72 here in Roswell.
Not even, just very, very light breeze. It's beautiful.
Well, very nice. All right. Steph.
I got a whole lot of nothing. I'm like Nick, apparently. Captain Nick, I should say. I was actually looking back through my photos because sometimes that helps me remember what I did in the interim since the last show, and I didn't even take any photos. So I did. There are a couple of
literally nothing
funny. There are a couple of I guess kind of funny things that happened. At least one. We did have one day where it was a little cooler at night, so decided to make a big pot of soup because it just sounded like it was going to be kind of getting into fall. Make some sort of hearty vegetable and beef stock soup, and then we decided, you know what would go good with soup? Just like a cheese quesadilla. But for some reason, we just decided to do that in the oven to make it, I guess, kind of crispy and get it done quickly. Well, we got crispy, that's for sure. Crispy as in it was like on fire within seconds for some reason. Like, big flaming tray of quesadilla.
Yikes.
Somehow did not set the smoke detector off. Somehow got it outside, or put the fire out. I actually got the fire extinguisher in my house lives in the kitchen underneath the sink, and I had that out ready to go. And everyone's like, "No, don't do." I was like, "But we're gonna,
we gotta eat."
we're gonna set something else on fire, like a piece of furniture or the drapes in the kitchen. I don't know, something.
Were you able to salvage enough of it to eat some of it?
Oh, no, we made new ones in a different manner. We got out the just a little electric griddle and decided that was a safer way to cook quesadillas for the night.
Okay.
I do have a picture of the very well done quesadillas. That's what reminded me.
Kind of dark.
So, yeah, charred. If you want that charred.
I like that charred flavor.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah, nothing else. I didn't do anything this weekend. The weather was beautiful. Yeah, I took a shopping trip to Aldi. It was very exciting. I found a cart in the parking lot that had not been returned, so I made a quarter. And there's a little tree frog living in my watering can for my little balcony garden. So that's what I've got.
We're obviously looking at pictures.
That's what I got. Okay. That's what's happened in the past week. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can add myself to that list of. Well, actually, I did do something that was a lot of fun and amazing last night. But I've been, moving to different campgrounds and such, and I think that picture lives in the. Is out the back of the campground that I've visited for the first time, a little bit further up Lake Lanier toward Gainesville, Georgia, and that was a kind of a pretty shot. I walked down. That's a little bit down the hill from where my campsite was, not a long way, but I was seeing. I bet that this is going to be a great place to have a beautiful sunset picture, and then I walked back up to the RVS, and then completely forgot about going back down to take a picture of sunset. And then by the time I remembered it, I went, "Oh, yeah, I forgot." Yeah, whatever. I'll maybe catch another one sometime. Anyway, yeah, I did want to talk about something. So I almost had a meetup with one of our listeners, Kevin Dryden, who's sent us multiple feedbacks in the past. He lives up in Vancouver Island, Comox, BC, Vancouver Island. And he was down here in the Atlanta area, and then he went down to Pensacola, and I think he was in the Navy Reserves. I don't think he still is, but he can correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, he went down to Pensacola, and I think he went to the Naval Aviation Museum. Came back up, and sadly, it didn't work out timing-wise and scheduling-wise for us to meet up with each other. But he had mentioned we were texting back and forth, and he said, I used to listen to the show on Google Podcasts, but Google, as they do, decided to deprecate Google Podcasts. And he was saying, and I guess they kind of pushed everybody to like YouTube Music or whatever. And he said, I looked and their APG wasn't on YouTube. And I thought APG was everywhere. But apparently it's not something that you can, automatically just have happen. You have to do some things. So I thought, I wonder if there are any other people that might benefit from us being on YouTube Music. And so, I mean, it has some limitations. It's kind of like, being on Spotify or some of the other streamers, where you don't get to see all the chapter images that Captain Nick puts with his Plain Tales episodes and our episode. I mean, we usually have, I don't know, maybe 40-something chapters or more of different images that we sprinkle through when we're talking about things. That's not supported. You just have the one, standard APG logo that you look at the entire time. So it's basically a video that you're listening to, kind of sort of like a podcast. But there's a way to do it. I was able to figure that out. So just wanted to mention that. The only 2 episodes on there right now, just the last 2 episodes, and just wanted to kind of see how that was going to work, and if I can make that part of my workflow. The other thing I wanted, speaking of workflows, sometimes Jeff tries to, I always shoot for trying to publish the show on Monday, and sometimes it's Monday morning, but oftentimes it's like right before the end of day on Monday, and sometimes that makes me rush things a bit. And I didn't realize that during Captain Nick's, apologies, Captain Nick, during his Plain Tale, we have this back channel, and sometimes we talk about certain things on the back channel communications, and that's a separate recording track, and Jeff forgot to cut that part of our back channel out. We were not talking about being fatigued, Liz. I think I was making some comment. There was a picture of of an old style Bakelite telephone with a dial. So when hey, dial this number. Actually had a dial on it, and so I was making some kind of a sarcastic comment about what is that, and so we're little things like that going on. And so I'm listening. I don't know why I decided to listen to the podcast on my podcast client of choice, which is Overcast, this morning, and I'm sitting in bed, just waking up, and I'm listening through there, and I was, I guess, checking to make sure the artwork was working and all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden I hear myself, and I hear Captain Nick, and I hear Liz, and I'm going, oh, we're not supposed to be hearing that on the published show, so dang it. So by this time, of course, it's a couple of days after we released the episode, so probably a majority of the people have already downloaded it, or their podcast client has already downloaded the darn thing. So apologies to those of you out there that listened to that little bit of a audio that shouldn't be there in the background. But I did go through and redo the whole thing and take out that offensive, well, it wasn't that offensive, but that stuff that you're not supposed to hear, taking away from the beauty of Captain Nick's masterpiece, Plain Tale. So I redid that.
Guffaws from over here. Guffaw.
Yeah, exactly. So I was able to, it's a long story, but I learned some things about how to successfully re-upload another file and do all that, and it was a mess. I spent hours this morning redoing all that stuff, just so that the people, maybe a handful of people that haven't yet downloaded it, will not have to listen to that. But anyway, just wanted to apologize for that. And yeah, that's about it. Just doing, the thing that I did want to talk about, I almost forgot again. Last night, Wednesday night, we're recording on this on Thursday, October 24th. On the 23rd, I joined my choir director and her husband, who is music. He's a doctorate of music, and he was a band director at many schools and colleges and that kind of thing. And he has his own Alphorn, as Liz is pointing out. Yes, he does. And we talked. That was the guy that was playing the Alphorn in the last episode. Anyway, they said, "Hey, would you like to join us? There's the Air Force, U.S. Air Force concert band, and the singing sergeants. I think the choral group of the U.S. Air Force, both based in Washington D.C. So like the big deal, the Air Force band was in town. They were on tour, and they were at a local high school very close by where I used to live in Cobb County." And so I met him over there, and I met up with Renee, the clarinet player that sometimes plays with our ensemble at our church. And it was kind of like being around a celebrity, because Dr. Chuck, like so many people when they saw him, knew him, or their kids were in the bands that he conducted over time and everything else. Anyway, he's a professor of music at Georgia State University right now. Anyway, that concert was amazing. That's such an amazingly talented group of people that participate in these bands and choruses for the military. Tuba Tony, we haven't heard from him in a while. He was playing for the Navy concert band, wasn't he, Captain Nick? I think that you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still doing that. Okay, he's retired. Okay.
Yeah,
there were a couple of. There were a couple of guys that were not in uniform in the Air Force concert band last night because some of their regular members couldn't make this particular performance, and these were people that were members of the U.S. Air Force concert band in the past and had retired as well. So, and they still looked really young. They were retired.
So worried.
Yeah. But anyway, it was an amazingly awesome, patriotic, and they played all kinds of, not just Sousa marches and Star Spangled Banner and Stars and Stripes and all those kind of things, but they also did different styles of music. One of them was a kind of a Brazilian, calypso, I don't know, kind of a samba, like that kind of, it was the only piece where I was trying not to dance too much in my chair. It was an amazing percussion section that they had, and the brass was amazing. Anyway, so I had a great time. Thank you, Jane and Chuck, if you're listening. Thank you for inviting me to join you guys for that concert. It was definitely the highlight of my week. So just wanted to kind of share that. And, of course, they're constantly trying to get me to join. Dr. Chuck is also the band director of this New Horizons band, which is like old people like me, and I'd probably be one of the youngsters in the band that do concerts and various performances throughout the year. And they keep wanting me to get my trumpet out and start playing it and be part of that band. And I've told them several times that I think those days, trumpet playing days, are over for me. But they're still very persistent. I think that was part of their plan, to take me to this concert, and this wind ensemble, and to hear the brass and everything else, and go, maybe that would like strike a nerve with me and want me to go ahead and, join the band. But I don't know. Last time I pulled out the trumpet and played it was, and I'm talking about a musical instrument, Dr. Stuff.
Sorry.
Watch that, the gutter mind. And it was horrible. It was a horrible sound, which was very, very hard for me to deal with, because I used to be really good, and now it's like oh, is that horrible sound coming from the trumpet that I'm playing? Oh, that's like, no, I don't want to put myself through that.
Maybe the trumpet needs some servicing. I don't know.
Well, it probably does, but I wish I could say that was the use that as my excuse. I guess I could use it as an excuse, but it's definitely not the reason. It's these lips. They're like muscles, and these muscles are flabby. And, yeah. Deanna says, Jeff talking about the trumpet reminds me of the scene in Airplane where they can't be lost because they are on instruments. Yeah, that's right. I used to be, yeah. So even before
the co-pilot.
Yeah. I mean, even before I flew an airplane, I was on instruments. Well, on instrument. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Coffee fun time. All right. Let me push the button.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
Speaking of Airplane, the movie, right?
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me.
You can try it again, Liz.
A cup.
There we go. I have to be in the prime position for that to work. Oh, that's all right. No problem. Hey, that's what we're all about. Making mistakes. The Coffee Fund. If you feel sorry for us, if we can't seem to get anything right, maybe sending some money would help. Probably not, but the Coffee Fund is your way to support the show financially, and a couple of different ways to do that. One is the Coffee Fund Classic method, which is basically a PayPal donation page. And we had some recurring contributors to that, as we always do every month. But we also have another mechanism for you to join the Coffee Bar Club, and that is something called Patreon. You can become a patron of the show. And we have a new producer. Yay! Darren Livermore is a new producer via Patreon. And I don't know if the hosts of the Opposing Bases podcast is still watching or not, but you feel sorry for us, don't you? You should. Anyway, thank you, Darren, for joining up. And if you'd like to join Darren and all the other wonderful people that support us financially, check out airlinepilotguide.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did, and we really will, too. Yeah, I say that because the Coffee Fund segment, they don't call it the Coffee Fund on Opposing Bases, takes, I don't know, half an hour or something like that, reading all the people that are new patrons of their show. It's sickening almost, really. Yeah. Yes, you may. Mm-hmm. How's everybody else feel about how much longer we go here?
I'm happy to go for half an hour, but
Okay.
that's just me. I mean, I can slide away.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Let's
do
see.
whatever everyone else likes.
Okay, we'll try to knock these out as fast as we can. What do you think?
Perfect.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Oh, I didn't watch the thing. I thought it was the Bob Hoover one.
No, it was not Bob Hoover.
Oh, okay. That's
No.
the only one I was okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll hold that for the next. Yeah. All right. Feedback bumper on the way.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, let's start off with this one from Sam Dawson, Highway Landing Strips. One of your recent episodes discussed military aircraft taking off and landing from highway strips. The segment reminded me of a humorous incident that happened to me as a young lieutenant. As you must know by now, I have many such long-winded, boring stories, but my kids are no longer around the house to be tormented by my tale, so your crew will have to do. Of course, you may just hit the delete button when you see the sender is me. Yeah, I did that, but Liz uploaded it, Sam. So
yeah, the
I
same
have her
happens to me. Every time I delete Sam's stuff, it comes straight back. I don't know.
It's weird. We're just kidding, Sam, as far as you know. So here we go. It was I almost said 1889. It was 1989, and I had only recently
trains
replaced.
were in vogue, and
Before the Wright brothers' first flight, he had recently. No, wait. Okay, no, 1989. I'd only replaced my butter bars for the shiny silver bars of a first lieutenant, and was based in South Korea as a UH-60 helicopter pilot. It was spring, and with the change of season came Team Spirit, the annual joint exercise in South Korea. I participated in Team Spirit when I was flying the 141. That was Jeff speaking. Back to Sam. The South Koreans have highway strips complete with runway markings. They don't like to advertise where they are for security reasons, so I won't mention the specific locations. This Team Spirit, someone came up with a brilliant mission. Marines from Okinawa would fly onto a highway strip in South Korea. My brigade would swoop in with UH-60s and CH-47s to pick them up and insert them into fighting positions. I was flying the A model of the UH-60, which was designed in the 70s when the U.S. Army was still using Jeeps for wheeled transportation, and it was thus designed to be able to sling load a Jeep. Since then, the U.S. military has transitioned to the Humvee, a larger and heavier vehicle. Our UH-60s could sling load a Humvee, but only if it had no gear in it and half a tank of gas. Okay, so a lot heavier and can't put anything in it except a half tank of gas. All right, as part of our coordination with the Marines, I told them this and got the Marine, "Hoorah, sir!" in response. Ah, Marines. Worldwide known as great fighters who literally interpret guidance. The day of the exercise arrived, and we were like a Swiss watch. The Air Force C-130s came swooping into the highway strip and offloaded the Marines. Like clockwork, we came swooping in, time on target. Chalk 1 hooked up the first Marine Humvee, and, well, that's where we turned into a Swiss watch purchased in a back alley of Hong Kong. Chalk 1 couldn't lift the Humvee. As it struggled to do so, its rotor blades coned upward. It set down, and we saw the crew chief walk over to the Humvee, inspect it, then came back shaking his head. Chalk 1 called back with the news. Yes, the Marines had followed my guidance and had the Humvees one-half full of gas. And showing Marine ingenuity, they put the rest of the gas in jerry cans and put them in the back of the Humvees. Yes, the Marines followed my guidance to the T. The Humvees were one-half full of gas in the tanks, and none of their personal gear was on board them. We had to burn off gas to pick up the Humvees, which delayed our mission. Not to worry, our FARP, forward area refueling point, was close. So we took off 30 minutes late and did our delayed swooping into the prepared fighting positions, which were now in the middle of a simulated tank battle due to our delay. We somehow found spots in this melee of crisscrossing M1s and M60 tanks to set down our loads and then scurried off to fill our thirsty birds. Well, things weren't messed up enough, so now the workings of that Swiss watch found in a back alley of Hong Kong really came apart. En route to our close forward area refueling point, I got word that it went down due to a bad fuel sample. We had a closed FARP. So
I hate it when you get a closed FARP.
It really, sometimes that can get messy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can really stink.
Yeah. It always finds a way out, and that's really painful.
Okay. So they got there and they had closed the FARP, so we beelined it for the nearby military heliport where, well, that's a story for another day. There are other pilots with more interesting times. I'm sure he's gonna continue that. It was a nice little tease.
He's taking a page out of your book there, Nick.
Yeah, apparently. He's got us hanging now.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. The Marines. Oh yeah, yes sir. Hoorah!
That's right.
Only half a tank.
We'll take it
of
out
gas.
of the gas tank. We'll put it
No
in jerry
no
cans
personal gear.
instead.
No personal gear.
Not a lot of critical thinking there
Excellent.
by the Marines. Well, maybe I don't know if it made any difference if he had explained why they only could do half a tank. Probably not.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Love it.
Very good. Thanks, Sam. Here's this is from a. No, we're not going to do that one. That's the one we're skipping. Okay. Yes, we're a little bit late in
less than a month.
over
I was
this.
going to say that's not
Less
even
than
a
a
month. That was my phone
that's-
too.
This is timely.
Very. That's pretty good, actually. Less than a month. Okay. September 30th is an important day in aviation, or was, or I guess it will be again next year. Captain Jeff, good morning. This day, September 30th, 1968, was a significant day in aviation history. The 747 and I were both rolled out of the production facility. We share our birthday. Congratulations. So he was born in the. He was born in the production facility. Yeah.
You see that aeroplane with all the airline stickers on it?
Yeah.
Whenever a military airplane landed away at another base, every squadron there used to run up to it and they'd stick their plastic, squadron zaps, we called them. I don't know what you guys call them. It was just a plastic squadron emblem all over this visiting aircraft. And that's just like what that 747 looks like. Looks like everyone else has stuck their stickers all over the airplane. Anyway,
yeah, it does.
That made me laugh anyway. And
All
they
the
couldn't
flight
work out
attendants
which
from
uniform to
different
wear.
airlines.
Oh dear.
Well, they didn't get the memo, apparently.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. So I'm still kind of stuck on Sam saying that they were both rolled out of the product production facility. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. My bad. Oh, Sam was the one that we were going to cover, but we decided to put to a different time. Okay. So I don't even think I meant. Did I say this was from Dan? No,
Nope.
I didn't.
Nope.
Okay. There we go. So thank you, Dan, for sending this in. He was rolled out of the production facility. I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what he's saying there, but I think that they were born
alongside the 747. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay. That's
Odd
cool.
place for to be born, but
Yeah, it is. It is. No.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of people there too. I mean, there's a big crowd of people as they pulled out that first 747.
And they
out of the
pulled out
production
that baby.
Yeah, I can see the similarities, yeah. So he sent us a link to this article in thisdayinaviation.com, and they have some great pictures of the first Boeing 747 rollout, again, on 30 September 1968. It was called the City of Everett, Washington, and they rolled it out of the Everett, Washington plant. It was registration number 7470 and carried Boeing's serial number 20235. Identified internally as RA001, the Boeing 747-121 was the first jumbo jet. The 747-100 series was the first version to be built. It was operated by a flight crew of 3, was designed to carry 366 to 452 passengers, which is quite something, especially back in 1968. Nobody had anything close to that, I guess. It's 231 feet, 10.2 inches long, with a wingspan of 195 feet, 8 inches. Overall height, 63 feet, 5 inches. The interior cabin width is 20 feet, 6.096 meters, giving it the name wide body. The airliner's empty weight is 370,860 pounds, 16 pounds, and the maximum takeoff weight, 735,000 pounds, which is about 334,000 kilograms. It's powered by the Pratt & Whitney JT9D-7A high bypass turbofan engines. Not easy for me to say. These can produce 46,150 pounds of thrust each. Yeah, so a lot more details here in this article. So, yeah, you're right. We need to kind of try to knock out some more feedback. But very cool. You want to read more details about this day in aviation, 30 September 1968. There's a link to that in the show notes. So thank you, Dan.
Look at the pictures. I love the fact it looks quite quaint because the upper deck's only got 3 little windows.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too.
I guess at the time were there any seats up there, or was it just like a lounge area up there?
I think you had a few water beds. That was about it.
I wonder. Oh, never mind. All right. Okay. We're gonna go to a video from Kevin Shaw. Where's that? Which number is that?
Number 7.
Oh. Okay. I need to load up a video. And present video file. Sorry. Okay. I think this is it. Okay. Let me, yeah. It's just my mouse is acting up again on me. Okay. So this involves, again, this is from Kevin. A King Air was landed by a passenger in Bakersfield, California. Greetings, Captains Jeff and Nick, Dr. Steph, Nick C., Liz, and the rest of the APG community. I'm sure you've heard by now the Beech King Air at the controls of a non-pilot passenger that landed in Bakersfield. This article includes a short video with excerpts from communications between the tower. Not sure I'm using that video or not. There are several out there. All did a phenomenal job, especially considering that the incapacitated pilot was the husband of the passenger that took over the controls. Again, this is from Kevin Shaw in Dallas, Texas. And so let's go ahead and play this video.
Article in the air.
Are you with me?
Yes, I am.
An air traffic controller talking an inexperienced passenger through piloting a twin-engine aircraft when the pilot lost consciousness midair.
Okay, so make sure you add a little bit of power.
What was supposed to be a flight from Las Vegas to the Central Coast turned into an all-hands-on-deck operation to get the plane safely on the ground. Look, this animation shows the plane taking off near Las Vegas, Nevada Friday morning. Its final destination, Monterey, California. But the plane was diverted nearly 100 miles southeast to Meadowsfield in Bakersfield, California. But the journey there was harrowing.
Are you able to add power so our airspeed doesn't get too low?
Yes, 132.
Okay, that's absolutely perfect.
At the airfield, Ron Brewster, the Kern County Director of Airports, and his team were standing by.
We were able to get fire, ambulance, and everybody on standby, so as the aircraft came to a stop, they were getting medical attention within seconds.
Thanks to a team of aviation experts and this calm air traffic controller,
Your airspeed is looking good from here.
the passenger safely landed.
Confirmed aircraft secure. 1 patient cardiac arrest.
But unfortunately, the ordeal has a tragic ending.
He was pronounced deceased at the hospital.
As for the brave woman at the controls,
How is she?
Dealing with a tragedy, so she's doing the best she can based on the circumstances.
no word yet on if the air traffic controller has had a chance to speak with that woman since their ordeal. Jose?
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about
Thanks for
breaking
watching.
news and top stories on the
Okay,
NBC
thank you
News
very
app.
much. That was Lester Holt. NBC Nightly News is that where we got that video. And there was another video. I'm not going to play it because it'll take too long. There was somebody up in the area of this King Air. I can't recall if they were, checked out in the King Air or if they were flight instructors or whatever, but they were able to kind of fly loose formation, I think, on her to help her fly the airplane and fly the speeds and lower the I guess they had one point in the flight where she was having some trouble lowering the landing gear, but they worked all that out and then finally got on the ground. And we'll say that it's not that she hadn't experienced flying in the King Air. She was not a rated pilot, but I guess she had paid attention enough over the years of flying with her husband in this King Air. I think it was a C-90, right?
I think so.
Looked like the smaller one.
Yeah.
Anyway, regardless.
A C-90 or a standard tail.
Yeah. Standard tail 90. Okay. That she was able to know kind of basically what to do, and with the help of the other aircraft and the air traffic controller, got it safely on the ground. And I guess the moral to the story for me anyway is that if you are, someone out there who your significant other or partner or whatever is, or friend or whatever, and you're not a pilot, they are, pay attention, to what is going on, because, you never know when you're going to have to actually take over and fly the darn airplane, So.
Yeah, I mean, and this is obviously a very dramatic case of it, and sad that he actually ended up, or that he did pass away. But there could even be, less serious instances where maybe you need to, as the passenger, help out with radios while the pilot is dealing with something else. Like, those are things that, if you're going to be in the aircraft a lot, you can learn a lot by looking, watching, or just asking for a little bit of, basic instruction.
I'm just curious, looking at that track, why they chose that airport. I'm not familiar with that area, certainly with airports big enough to take King Air, but they seem to fly her an awful long way from where she turned around to find somewhere suitable. Jeff, is there somewhere better closer by?
I think Camacho was kind of familiar, much more familiar
Nick,
with that area of the country.
Whereas the track was just in the video, or are you looking at it in the...
It was in the video.
It was in the video.
They kind of flew north along the coast, and then there was almost like a 360 orbit, and then turned back around, not quite 180 degrees, flew more inland and landed at Bakersfield.
Let's see if I can find the track. Here we go.
Yeah, but I mean, they flew for over an hour. When you got someone...
I'm sorry.
When you got someone who's suffering a heart attack, you want to get medical attention to them as soon as possible. Now, I realize you've got to balance that with getting her comfortable enough to fly the airplane to land it, but seemed a long way.
Yeah, that is interesting, because they basically, where she did the 360 is like right in between San Luis Obispo and San Francisco. So you can see she's Paso Robles right there off of her wing. So I'm not sure why they take her to Bakersfield.
Okay.
There is...
I was just curious.
Let's see, at King City up there at the top, there's a field, but I don't know if there's any services there. At Paso Robles, there's a field with fire response, I believe, and then at San Luis Obispo. None of those are particularly difficult places to get into. There's some mountains there.
Yeah, the terrain is much more...
the terrain is not
so
as
much of a risk.
Hospitable. Bakersfield there's definitely a lot less high terrain around the airport. So I guess that would be why they chose that one.
Yeah, my thoughts were, terrain assistance on the ground, or that they can have her talking to the entire way. That will be able to help her in landing the aircraft. Medical assistance on the ground readily available. At the end of the day, I don't know what they were discussing in terms of the condition of her husband in the air, but you don't want to assume the worst, but you don't want to have the worst outcome for two people as opposed to just one. So you want to make it as successful as possible.
I think I did read somewhere that the reason why they went back to Bakersfield was, as we've mentioned, not so much the terrain, but the longer runway length and the response capability, medical, and crash, fire, rescue there at Bakersfield was
fair enough.
Just a higher level.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Just real quick before we move on, I just wanted to say anytime we have one of those stories, I'm always so completely impressed with these passengers who, even if they have a lot of experience, riding along, end up taking the controls for the first time and
very
things down safely.
Very
kudos.
And
kudos to her
the King Air. Yeah, the King Air is not a simple airplane.
It's not a 172.
No.
Lots of 30 minutes in a King Air, and different experience for sure in terms of handling and performance. Yeah.
And all kinds of little doohickeys and thingamabobs that you got to move around and push it in and out.
Jeez, why do they make things the way they don't know? You tell me. Camacho.
All right. Yeah. Kudos to the lady that.
And condolences that her husband did not.
So sorry for her loss. Okay. Oh, Mazoots. He was with us earlier in the live audience. I don't know if he's still here. It's awfully late for him. But anyway, let's read this from him. He says he has a basic question. I hope that you're all managing to avoid the effects of Hurricane Helene. We did. I think every one of us here came through it. It's been around for a while.
I came through it without any problem whatsoever.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe
it
would head up to England, and of course, if it had, you would have been
we
complaining
sent it to
about
France.
it. Ah, okay.
They probably surrendered.
It reminds me of the rifles for sale. Never
you
used.
sent it to France, but they were on strike, so couldn't get there anyway. Sorry. I love France, by the way.
We love all of you there in France. All one or two of you are listening.
I think it's important to note that it was the European that started this chain with all of us Americans on here. Nick was the first one to fire a shot. I feel like the knee-jerk reaction will be like, oh, it's the Americans picking on us again.
We love you. We really do. So Mizzou says, I was listening to the try at recording episode 633. That was a tough episode for us to finally get done. And a question sprang to mind. Apologies that it's probably very simplistic. Liz asked Captain Nick whether he would leap into action if there was an emergency on a flight. And this led to me wondering, as I'm sure there are clear policies from the regulators and the airlines. Although it's hopefully unlikely that the entire flight deck crew were to become incapacitated while having a perfectly serviceable aircraft, it may be possible, for example, if the advice from airplane is ignored and both pilots have the fish. I presume that the senior cabin crew member becomes the aircraft commander, and they're trained to be able to operate the radio and to seek assistance. How much other familiarity do they have with the flight deck controls? Are they likely to be able to act in instruction from the ground? How much can passengers get involved? The captain, who was retired the day before, would obviously be very useful, but how about the one who retired 5 years ago? And the person who has never flown an aircraft but has a high-fidelity type simulator at home with many hours of practice and is at the very least familiar with the main controls? Or the private light aircraft pilot who might be able to operate the radio and knows that stick forward, trees get bigger, stick backwards, trees get smaller, but not much more than that. If the only alternative is the certain loss of a serviceable aircraft, how much latitude is allowed in enlisting help? Look forward to the real 633. Best wishes and talons, Douglas Mazoots. You'll be happy to know, and he knows, I think, that we actually were successful in publishing episode 633 eventually. I'm trying to remember exactly the situation that he's referring to here. Do you remember? Uh-huh. Yeah, but what was the situation that did both pilots become incapacitated?
It was just if since I was retired, could I be called upon to help out during a flight? And I said only if we renegotiated my contract and gave me sufficient remuneration would I ever consider going back onto the flight deck. But it's an interesting question. We've had it a few times, but nothing wrong with answering it again.
I think that you had mentioned, Nick, in the past that there was some kind of very rudimentary kind of training for some of the, or maybe all of the Virgin Atlantic Airways flight attendants or cabin crew
Certainly,
to do certain things.
If we ended up single pilot, so one pilot incapacitated, the drill was that the remaining pilot, assuming you could get the guy out of his seat, but you don't have to, the cabin crew are trained in how to operate the electrics of the seat and get the guy back and how to strap him in fully so that if he does have some kind of an episode, he doesn't start thrashing around and move the controls. So you get that guy either out of his seat or at least back. So they're all capable of doing that. And then they do get a little bit of training on how to interpret the QRH, so your Quick Reference Handbook, so they can read checklists. And that is really primarily what the cabin crew member does. They sit there and when asked, they will just read the checklist and you do the responses so that there is some kind of double check that things have been done. The remaining crew member is perfectly capable on their own of working the radios and flying the airplane, particularly with a highly automated aircraft like an Airbus. So that's really no problem at all. You don't need anybody else on the flight deck. But I think it's nice to have someone down there. Having said that, there are a lot of cabin crew that are very, motivated. And they love asking questions, and they sit on the flight deck during their break period sometimes and chat about what does that do and what does this do and how do you work the radios and how do you put the oxygen masks on, all this kind of stuff. In fact, they already know how to do that because that's one of the things you do if you've got an incapacitated pilot is to put an oxygen mask on them and feed them oxygen, etc. So the cabin crew are pretty well versed. But if both of the pilots at the front there is no one left who works for the company on board, then it would be a very hard thing for the cabin crew to judge who is a keen and eager Microsoft Flight Sim pilot and someone who actually has some practical and useful knowledge, because everyone's going to want to clamber up there and take control, and the chance of picking the right person, I think, are pretty remote.
If there were just one pilot incapacitated and there was still a fully functional one up there, I can't imagine a situation where the person brought in that wasn't a certified, completely qualified pilot in that airplane would ever even get close to touching the controls.
No, exactly right, because it would be more work for the remaining pilot to monitor them, make sure they don't mess up, and show them how to work things. It's much simpler just to do it yourself, and it's not that hard. So, in fact, I remember where I ended up operating very long flight without enough Airbus pilots on board, but we did have a deadheading 747 crew. And at one point, we had one of them on the flight deck helping us out just so that we could take a bit of in-seat rest. And they had no idea how to work the radio. I mean, you think the radio would be pretty simple. But no, it's just the configuration of it and how to transfer the frequencies from the standby side to the active side, and that was flummoxing them.
Some have buttons and some have toggles. They're all different. That's the reason why we spend a lot of time in our training programs, to learn the new airplane. I will say that I'm impressed that Virgin Atlantic gives your cabin crew that kind of training, because as far as I know, that doesn't happen at my former airline. I mean, they wouldn't be, I don't think, unless they had personal private airplane experience, I don't think they'd be much help at all.
Oh, well, yeah, I know. We used to do it on the sim, and the sim instructor would pretend to be a cabin crew member. And I remember I said, okay, can you read the checklist? I think it was the before landing checklist. That's what it was. And he just got me into hysterics, because when he came to, like, you know, the memo on the screen that has all the checks, you know, you look at the memo and check that everything's been done and that everything's green and there are no blues. And said, landing Memo. And I said, what the hell's a landing Memo?
Landing Memo?
Instead of memo.
Minimum operating speed?
Yeah, no, it was the name of the list. It's called a landing memo. It's
memo,
just like a memorandum.
Memo,
a short
Gotcha.
for memo. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It said
okay.
Memo, like, and I just burst into laughter, because I went, "What the hell's a Memo?" But he was just trying to mispronounce everything to.
I was just
to put me
trying
off.
to get you guys to crack up.
Yes, it was.
To answer Mazuz's question, you know, if this is kind of like a should never ever actually happen scenario, but, you know, never say never. I don't know. I think the person that you want is the lady from the King Air from the previous story, because she was able to stay calm under or someone like that, right? Like someone who's able to be calm under a very high stress situation, take instruction, follow it, and actually have the physical capabilities to execute it. But
yeah,
good luck figuring out who that person is.
I personally, if I had a choice and a list of that presented to me that Mazuz gives, I would go for the person who was a professional airline pilot, whether they had been just retired or had been retired for 5 years or 10 years.
Sure.
At least they have experience with a crew, with checklist procedures and radio operation and everything else. Probably private pilots next, and then maybe the simulator, guys. I don't know, but definitely it would take advantage of the former airline pilots. I don't know, getting them to actually participate in it, as Nick kind of alluded to, it might be a little tough to convince us that we needed to go up there and help. Nah, I'm good. I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to.
Yeah, how much you're offering?
Another drink, please.
The guy across the aisle seems real eager. You should let them do it. It's fine. Just get some popcorn and see how it
Free
goes.
flights for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Good question, though, Mazuz. Thank you. I'd like to mention that he has been a long-time financial supporter, a coffee bar club member of the APG, and we've met him in person. He attended the PTUK. He's a big supporter of theirs as well in London, and at their, what was that, the 200th for them, or at Brooklands? Yeah. So it was very nice to meet him in person there, and so we salute you, sir. Thank you very much.
Indeed.
All right. I think now is a good time to wrap everything up and point you over to our website, airlinepilotguy.com. Again, information about the crew and the community and so much more. Check it out, airlinepilotguy.com. And we're also on the social medias, and Dr. Stuff loves to tell you all about that.
I do, and I had a brief moment of panic because everything froze on my screen there for a second. I went,
oh
no.
Do it from memory.
I ditched him. Well, that would be fine. I don't know if you would have been able to hear me. I can definitely do it from memory, but I'll do it in the order that we have presented here on the screen. You can head over to facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. We are on X, that's at APG Crew, and find our individual handles pinned to the top of that page as well. For the weekly show artwork, head over to Instagram. That's instagram.com, or use your app. We are APG Crew. If you want to join in these lovely live recordings or see the previous video recordings for prior episodes, head over to youtube.com. This one changed on me. Oh, threw a curveball in there. I see what you were talking about last time. How did Nick do with it? Did he catch it too?
Oh, yeah, he did great. And we even had a little
movie.
Discussion about the @ symbol, which is not strictly necessary, but YouTube wants us to put that in there, but you don't have to.
Do you have to type it in or no? Because I had questions about
well, you do not have to
live,
type that in.
Do not have to.
No,
okay.
you can just put in YouTube.
So you can just do youtube.com/airlinepilotguy/streams.
Yeah, I added that because if you just go to youtube.com/airlinepilotguy, it takes you to this page that, I mean, they might be showing a video from when I was doing the show solo, back before 2015, and you don't want to watch that. But if you want to see the current episodes in chronological order, then going to the streams brings you to the live videos page of YouTube where we are there.
Gotcha.
So I think that's what. Oh, I don't know. Let's see if there's somebody using that. Yeah, I'm turning on the remote microphone, and let's see if he. Hello? Can you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
All right, come on over here in all your wet glory and tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and Plain Tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Fire in the hole.
I think it's probably time to leave. If that's,
yes, definitely. And I hope the church janitors are still here to clean up things and in the bathroom over there. I didn't even know that there was a shower in the bathroom down the hall, but I guess I'm not very observant. Or maybe he was just showering using the sink. That's possible. All right. And I'm going to stop gabbing and point everybody toward this lady right here that does so much work behind the scenes. So thank you so much, Miss Piper, for your hard work. Couldn't do it without you.
Well done, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great to see everybody.
And yeah, great that everybody had a chance to. We had almost a full crew. I guess that Rick guy is still alive somewhere.
He was flying
around the world.
Spain to Mexico today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he has a valid
He's
excuse
alive
for
and
not
well
being there.
on X, and you can follow his.
Yeah.
That's definitely his domain, right? Anyway, good to see everybody, and great to have our live audience, our live chat folks there with us, and so many of them are there each and every week, and we really do appreciate you and love you guys. So, other than that, I think we should just go ahead and sign off by saying, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time. Woo!
Yeah.
FARP. 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 FARP.
Yeah, I have that as. Yeah! Woo! I definitely had that as a possible title, Nick. Closed FARP. Closed FARP.
I think that would be a good one. But in case I can't make it work.
I also had unexpected ingestion. Unexpected ingestion of the.
Oh, no, accidental, I think.
Accidental. It was
well,
accidental.
I changed it myself because I thought accidental.
Oh, I see.
I didn't think accidental made any sense, but whatever.
Exactly.
You want.
That's why I pointed it out. Like,
We had lots of
An
references
accidental,
to...
like, why would that be something that somebody would do on purpose?
And then the other ones were around the APG fatigue episode or APG careful what you say on air or something. I don't know, something around that. I don't know. I didn't really have that, but that's all I had. I didn't have much this time.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Accidental indigestion. Yeah. What was?
Well, I don't think it was
It was
Did you say indigestion?
No, ingestion.
Well, you said ingestion, and I thought indigestion too.
Well, apparently Nick did as well.
The same wavelength there. Well, we've got closed FARPs and accidental indigestion.
Well, that's exactly where I was going with that. Yeah, I was thinking.
Okay.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you could join them now. Okay.
We could.
Interesting.
We could. Anything else not associated with diarrhea or gas?
Just the listening stuff and
Just
fatigue.
the fatigue thing and
listening
poop
in on.
seems to be
it's always popular. It's always a popular.
You know what? You can't go wrong.
No.
We're like a bunch of 13-year-olds or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny you should mention that. Yeah, exactly right.
Did you turn the recorder off, Jeff?
I was trying to get my mouse to work, and I got the mix pre turned off.
Okay.
Let me get over here to. Oh, it's working again. Let me turn that off.
Anyway, thanks everybody in the chat room for joining us. Hopefully, we'll see you next week sometime.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, great for joining. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks
Lovely.
for being
Great
here with
comments.
us.
That never happens.
Even if you don't realise it, I'm reading them all. They're fantastic.
You're great. Bye, everybody.
You guys are